What is going on, everyone? Welcome. Hey, everyone. Welcome to ThursdAI. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm an AI evangelist with Weights and Biases. Today joins me in this very cool, very quick setup studio, Swix. Swix, co-founder of Small, co-founder of AI Engineer, the conference that becomes like a huge thing that we're going to talk about, and we're live streaming from right now. And my friend, what's up, Swix?
What's up? Good morning.
All good, all good. We also have on the side, we have Roman. Roman, say hi to the folks as well. And folks, in just a few moments, we'll have Yam. Yam, you want to jump over there by Roman? Say hi to the folks super quick. We'll have Yam as our live correspondent from the AI Engineer hallway track, let's say. As well. So this is a very special episode of ThursdAI, and that we're bringing. And this week is going to be very, very, very cool. So welcome, everyone. As we kind of get started a little bit, today's episode is going to be a little bit more special. We have some AI news to talk to you about. We may have some breaking news. We don't know. Maybe. We may have some breaking news as well. But if you, as always, if you're joining the ThursdAI crew, you know how this works. We're live on YouTube, we're live on X, we're live everywhere. For this first time, we're also live via your stream as well. So welcome to your audience as well.
I have no idea how that works. Today I learned you can whole stream from StreamYard. StreamYard is actually very impressive.
Yeah, StreamYard is dope. And we will ask you as well, because this week has been hectic and we've been running on conference as well. If anything breaks that you guys know of, like breaking news, if anything that you liked in the AI world and we haven't covered yet, please let us know in the comments on YouTube. We can even answer as well. So with it, I think that we can get started with just like a brief interview. Swix, it's been a while since I've been on the podcast, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it was the last time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Sometimes I listen in live, but mostly you start too early for me.
Yeah. but now that it's your conference, you kind of have to wake up early to set up things. Yes. So live at the Engineer.
Yeah.
We're on the 30th floor. It's beautiful out here in San Francisco. You can see this behind Roman. Actually, let me add Roman as well. You can see a little bit of a corner of San Francisco behind Roman. And
quite a view.
Yeah, Swix would love to hear. We'll talk about the Engineer probably more at length. How is it going? How are you feeling? What's yesterday was like day one of the talks before this workshop. How are you feeling about the state of things right now?
State of things are pretty good. I think that our main stress was handling 3,000 people in person.
3,000 people sold out completely.
Yeah, and the other thing was there's a budget. Like most people just know about the Wi-Fi issues, but there's a lot of things that people don't know, which is the job, right? They just sort of make the other stuff disappear. But for example, there have been protests in Seattle and Chicago with some major AI figures in recent months. And we were a very visible AI event. And so one of the things that we had a little bit of contingency for, but fortunately it didn't happen, was that thing happening to us.
Wait, people who don't like AI protesting against AI conferences?
Yes, or specific people in that were.
Whoa.
Yeah, so if you watch the Microsoft Build keynote, they cut most of it out, but Satya was interrupted a few times by protesters. And yeah, something happened in one of their other events, and we have a very visible event where we started to actually need like 6 to 7 security people walking around and actual police that are on site. And we had contingencies if there was protests blocking people from coming in.
So I saw police, I saw somebody screaming in the lobby, but that was just San Francisco. That wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it was AI related at all.
No, yeah. Anyway, so I think it's a risk because I think we always want to be in the city because I think like that this is where everything is happening.
Yeah.
But it is way more expensive to do things in the city, and logistically, like a lot of people cannot park here, that kind of stuff. But like now, there's risk that I never thought I would have to worry about. Let's just put it that.
So let's put it in context for folks who haven't like maybe joined any of AI Engineers. This has been running for 3 years now.
Yeah.
The first one was Hotel Nico somewhere like very close, and Marriott Marquis. We're at Marriott Marquis. It's like a big hotel in downtown of San Francisco, like in the middle. sold out for 3,000 AI engineers. This is crazy. We're going to talk. Yam is running to the floor, so we're going to talk with a few folks just like attending. It's going to be very interesting to bring them up.
Oh, is he streaming live?
Yeah, he's going to stream live. He's going to do like a live correspondence thing.
I was wondering why he's not on camera.
Yeah, he's running around right now. We can actually, Yam, are you already on the floor? Let's add Yam.
Hi, Yam. Good morning. Morning, everyone, from the floor of AI Engineer. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. Coming through.
Great. So people are starting to come. People are starting to come. We have a keynote starting in, I think, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and audience starting to come. The amount of people is crazy in the conference. It's just crazy, especially compared to last year and the year before.
Hey, Yam, can you stand for a second by that logo wall? You see behind you, there's a logo wall.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's interview you from the logo. Yeah. So, folks, Yam is our live correspondent on the floor of the Marriott Marquis. Bottom layer, I think, the Grand Suites. Who do you have? Oh, let's go. Yeah. And for folks who are actually tuning in, that was Randall. Randall is also 3 years ago. Yeah, Randall. Yam, so give us a little bit of a feel of the energy. Folks, we're streaming this for those of you who can't make it in San Francisco, who can park here downtown, or for folks who just didn't fly out, for you to know how this feels. So there's going to be a little bit of Wi-Fi issues, but Yam's going to walk around and maybe like 10 folks. And I think it's going to be great. Yam, we're going to grab you in a few moments.
No problem. Sure. Just want to show you.
Show us this.
The amount of people. The amount of people. We didn't even start yet. Oh, one moment. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the bottom floor, and 3,000 people is a lot of people, right? And all of them know who you are. And all of them, really? This now escapes you. Yeah. You think that this is the trajectory because you bought a leather jacket.
Yeah.
Greg Brockman has a leather jacket.
Yeah.
Jensen has a leather jacket. I'm just saying the trajectory is clear as far as I'm sitting.
Although to be clear, honestly, this one is my girlfriend's suggestion.
Oh, great suggestion. I really liked it. Right, yeah, we're gonna grab you once you find the person. Just flag us. Meanwhile, we're on AI news as well. Roman, let me add you up. We're in AI news stream, and we should talk about a few things. This week there's a few controversial topics that's been going around the conference as well.
Okay.
Something windsurf and tropic related. There's definitely something we want to talk about. But also, OpenAI has released a bunch of new things, and we would love to also discuss them. So, folks, the folks who usually tune in, we have like this TLDR in the beginning. We tell you everything that happened. It's kind of hard to tell you everything that happened once we've been running on the conference, but a few things have happened, and we definitely want to cover at least the major labs things. So, I think we can start with OpenAI, and I think the main things that I saw from OpenAI this week was they announced a bunch of features for the teams and enterprise and things like this. And one of the main things that I particularly liked is they're gonna be able to, as a ChatGPT user, ChatGPT is gonna listen in on your Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
And that I think is like super cool, specifically from the perspective of there's multiple companies that kind of do this, and they then rely on ChatGPT. And OpenAI moves into the category of we're announcing something, we're killing like 3 startups.
They did a lot of things about kind of enterprise and EDU kind of offerings in terms of ChatGPT specifically.
Yeah.
The one I'm kind of more interested in is the one with Codex for Plus users. Just that idea of kind of inserting themselves into that software development lifecycle and more people sort of trying out how it feels to like assign tickets to this kind of agent here.
So quickly, just adding the piece of news that you added, right? In addition to kind of the features, we're going to talk about connectors to Box, to Gmail. There's a bunch of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
OpenAI also decided to open up Codex, the coding agent, let's say, that you actually talked with Greg Brockman about yesterday on stage. So we should cover this as well. Codex is now open to the Pro, to the Plus.
Pro.
Yes. And I saw a stat that was crazy. Like, I think 111,000 PRs was open in the 24 hours that was available for the Plus members on GitHub. because people track this thing now.
Yeah.
So
and that's compared to like about 20,000 for what's that other one?
We have Jules from Google. We have Codex from OpenAI. We have Claude Code doesn't really sit
Claude
there,
Code doesn't.
and we have Devin.
Devin,
I think that was the comparison chart. So OpenAI is absolutely kind of like bringing the coding thing to the masses, and that's dope. And you also chatted with Greg Rockman yesterday on stage, which is super cool. People can tune in. It's going to be recorded. It was live streamed, and he talked about Codex as well. He went out of his way to tell you that it's not his baby-ish. So like a lot of people talk about this.
I've been told it's his baby.
Yeah, how's the chat with Greg generally? How's it been?
Lifetime wish list. I think we've been wanting to have him at AI Engineer for 2 years, and we made the schedules work. I think it's always interesting why we there's the delta between why we want him, because I think he's obviously co-founder of OpenAI and himself a very impressive engineer that transitioned from normal software engineering into AI. So I think he's a role model for a lot of other people out there. But then why does he want to do it?
Yeah.
And that's always an interesting question, because he can speak anywhere, he can speak anytime.
Sure.
And so what is it for him to come here? And I think he's kind of figurehead or the sort of official representation or endorsement of all the other work that the other OpenAI folks are doing. So we actually have a very strong OpenAI presence here, together with the other big labs as well. But OpenAI did 2 workshops on Wednesday.
Elon Visual is one of them, right? Elon?
Yeah, Elon and Dominic. And then they have 2 talks today as well. So it's really has been great working with them, and I think I find that big lab heads like Jeff Dean is like this as well.
Yeah.
If you work well with their team, then they'll come and support their team.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's great to see OpenAI's presence here. Absolutely. They don't have a booth or anything, but they're here. They have.
We offered.
Oh yeah.
They don't need it.
They don't need it. And yeah, going around, Codex just generally has been super good. I remember Codex as a standalone thing. You remember a long time ago when Greg presented? Way before ChatGPT.
It's actually Fuad who's speaking today.
Fuad as well?
Yeah, Fuad. It was Fuad and Roman on the original CLI.
Bro, wasn't Fuad at some point a person that in one of your dinners was making very, very good desserts?
He's the unofficial dessert chef for OpenAI.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So Codex, we're going to talk about Codex as well. I've seen these stats. I probably can pull them up right now. Somebody took and did a comparison between Codex and then Jules from Google as well, and Devin. Cloud Code is not there because I don't think it's easy to get Cloud Code information. And Codex by far is a significant kind of PR closing margin. So we're going to pull up those stats.
I don't think those numbers reflect how good Claude or Codex or Jules or whatever, how good they are relative to one another.
Yeah.
Some of that is excitement. To me, it just shows that people are interested in doing software development in this new way. And that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Roman, have you tried any of them?
I have definitely used Claude Code, kind of non-cloud version.
Yeah.
And I have set up lots of different flows to work with Codex or with other kinds of things. Actually, kind of opened my mind in some of the workshops that we saw yesterday with Microsoft's software development lifecycle. You just assign issues to the GitHub Copilot agent, and then you kind of get pull requests, can merge things in, kick off asynchronous tasks like this. That whole process feels a lot more like what I would do as a sort of tech lead. I would break up the work, I would divvy it up according to deliverable chunks, and then assign it to engineers. And so that reflects kind of how I would expect work to work, especially if I want to scale it up. So that's one of the reasons why I'm excited.
All right, yeah. It looks like you came to the main stage. There's a little bit of a Wi-Fi thing, but you guys can see the main stage is going to go live, and we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Keynote is setting up. Audience is now entering the main hall for the keynote of today, starting in 10 minutes.
10 minutes, folks. 10 minutes, and we're gonna hopefully hear about some things from there. Yam, who's opening logging to class, right?
I can't hear you. Wi-Fi issues. Apologies. There are 3,000 people here.
We did this yesterday, right? Some people are doing it right now.
And leave no seats empty.
Yeah, we're gonna put you on
Our
mute.
show is completely
No
sold
problem.
out.
We can see things that are happening. The room was packed yesterday.
Yeah,
How big is the main room? Do you know approximately?
I think like 1,300 people.
1,300 people. It was standing room only. I was standing like behind when you were with Greg Bachman, and before this, Kevin, who from Windsurf.
Yeah.
Kevin's a great dude. I wish like Kevin, if you're listening to this, please join us on DM me. I'll grab you up here. But Kevin is a great dude from Windsurf, which may or may not also be part of OpenAI. We don't know. Nothing was official, but like there was some announcement. And Kevin had a standing room, and then you and Greg for like 40 minutes. I believe you basically did a podcast with Greg on stage. 1,300 people sitting down, and I think like just standing room. There's like a lot of people behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, Greg actually confirmed that he'll be joining us on InSpace afterwards. But yeah, it wasn't a podcast in a sense that like I wasn't there for me, so I couldn't ask questions and go on tangents if I wanted.
Yeah.
I would had to follow a script that we
Pre-approval,
kind of somewhat, where they were actually very very flexible and open with me, but it was just more like I represent a lot of people.
Yes.
So I cannot only serve my interests. Like I have to like think about other people and like the questions that they submitted, what they really want to hear from it.
And this is different from Latent Space. Latent Space you could just like do.
Yeah, this is just me and Alessio, like personal indulgence, right?
Yeah, folks. I don't believe anybody of the 1,500 people who tunes in right now doesn't know about Latent Space. But in case they don't, Swix, besides running AI Engineer, this is now the second conference this year. Maybe it's going to be another one this year. We talked about this. So this is the World's Fair. 3,000 people sold out. Besides running AI News, the daily newsletter that recaps all of the news in the world, we try to do weekly as folks tune in. You're doing the daily one.
Because we have agents.
Yeah, you have agents. And we still don't have agents. We still have human agents. One of them is running around the show. We're going to add him in once he grabs someone. You're also running small. And Swix and Alessio are hosts of one of the top AI podcasts in the world called Latent Space. And it's been an incredible podcast. It's been great to see you guys rise. Lex Friedman recently gave you guys a shout out as well.
Yeah, he's here. He has a ticket.
Lex has a ticket?
He has a ticket.
Lex, come up, talk to us.
I know. He said he'll maybe come. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, right?
Yeah.
I think all those is really great. And like, I mean, to us, like we're trying to improve the quality of the guests and like understand what the audience wants.
Yep.
So stay tuned. Like we have a really good episode with Anthropic on mechanistic interpretability.
Yes. Oh.
Yes.
Golden Gate Cloud and all that thing.
Circuit tracing.
Yes.
Biology of language models guy. And then after that will be Noam Brown from OpenAI.
Oh, Noam Brown. Mm-hmm. Yes, Noam Brown is the guy that like worked hard on reasoning and.
Yeah, I think he's basically like the research lead on O series. Is what?
O series with. Oh, that's amazing. Yam, are you waiting for the keynote to start to show us what's going on? Where are you?
Oh yeah, right here on the floor, waiting for the keynote to start.
Yeah.
Today is all about Gemini.
Oh, okay. Now it's behind the scenes to the opening slides. It's all about Gemini. I will just say, folks, that Logan Kilpatrick, the dev lead or the PM product manager for AI Studio, also as well, shout out to Logan. He tweeted out Gemini. And he's doing this thing where he just puts out Gemini, forward, 1,000 likes, whatever. And he usually does this to like tell people that something's coming. So we will. Yeah. It's a good hint that something's coming. Yam, after the show, we would love for you to grab someone off the floor and just give us
No.
another 5 minutes. You might go out in the hall where it makes you look more stable. And I will do the interview and we do it yesterday. We think of a sound check. Roman and Yam and out. People love this. Over 1,000 or less. People love the fact that you're really talking to people. and we talked to multiple people. We can make a photo and one year and make and plus we grab there was less this song with the robot dog.
Oh, so this wasn't a sound check.
We started as a sound check and I felt like, hey, this conference is happening. People are right there. Let's just talk to them. Maybe people who we can grab on the street.
Checked all the Wi-Fi spots.
Oh,
Found all the spots where you could interview
Okay.
people. It was awesome.
Yeah. So we're gonna hope to use these lessons to now interview folks from today. All
Look
right.
at this. Look at this.
We can't see because you're frozen, but we can hear you. So you should just like tell us what. Describe this from folks at home who don't watch it on the camera.
It's energy, man. It's energy. It's like every single day, all the rooms are packed. Just like you said yesterday, the keynote is a huge hall. I don't know if you can see it in the image, but it's a huge hall, and we got to the point where you can just stand. I mean, there's so many people here, and no one is going out of the conference early or anything. Like the last talk yesterday at 5 p.m. was just packed the entire room.
Yeah, I want you to go
How to describe?
If you don't mind, grab a random person outside of the hall maybe, and do a quick here.
It's not going to be easy. Everyone is rushing to the keynote, but also
Please scooch in towards the middle of the row to accommodate as many people as possible.
Yeah.
If you can't find
Go
a
up to
seat,
looking for
keynotes are
yeah,
broadcast
once you grab someone, we'll bring them up.
and also Golden
Okay,
Gate
sure.
Ballrooms A and B of the
And just try me, but we can see you. Yeah, 5 minutes until the keynote, folks. Definitely should tune in and see.
Let's see if we can find some stable Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Oh no, his audio died.
I will say, he wants to mute.
Repeat that.
Oh, yeah, there you are. There you are. Oh, okay, we can see you better. Can you find someone right there in the hall? Just grab the person.
It's not going to be easy. Everyone is rushing to the keynote, but I will try. Try my best.
This is very.
There's also the overflow.
Yeah. And find some overflow rooms as well. So, OpenAI also launched. We're gonna just zigzag between news, talking about the AI conference.
Yeah.
I will say, for folks who are listening who don't know this, AI engineer is very special to me specifically, and you probably know this. I've talked to folks about this. I moved away from a career in software development, and I felt a pulling to go into like content creation, podcasting, etc. And you were the first one who gave me a break. I remember we talked about the engineer. We were kind of chatting before, and you got me a media ticket to come out to the engineer in 2023. It was October, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was like running around with the media badge, interviewing people. I was actually like kind of like semi-working for doing interviews for you guys as well. I remember this because like on the way to AI engineer, this was before Weights and Biases, folks. This is before like I had a place to go home, and I went on an Uber into San Francisco, and the guy asked me like, "Hey, what do you do?" I told him I have a podcast. It was like the first thing because of the validation you gave me in the engineer. So I really, really appreciate all your support since then.
Yeah, but like also by then it was very obvious that you were going to do a really good job, and so like it wasn't that much of a risk, man.
I hear that. I really appreciate it. And since then, we've been covering AI engineer on ThursdAI every time it happened. I don't think I've missed one. But I heard rumors that this is becoming a bigger thing still.
I mean, yeah, you want to go to Europe? Like,
yeah, I will come to Europe. I don't mind. Like I haven't been in Europe in a while, especially if we can cover this.
Yeah, I mean, we do eventually want to cover and then bring the AI engineer to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And so this kind of descending order of GDP, basically.
Descending order of GDP. So speaking of descending order of GDP, the last time we hung out with the engineer was in New York. Mm-hmm. New York was it was a engineer summit. The more
so it's a format, so it's summit and World's Fair.
Yeah, could you tell us about the difference?
So summit is single track, apply only. So people have to apply to even attend.
Who reviews them? Do you have an AI agent that reviews it, or do you do all the reviews?
Just like it's basically us, me and like friends, basically. But I also have like people, like we have like a grading system, so it's not that hard. And then World's Fair is just open to everyone, and we're trying to be inclusive and as comprehensive as possible.
Yeah.
Right? Like last year we had 9 tracks, this year we have 18.
18 tracks.
Yeah, and it's not even enough. Like, I wanted to do computer use agent. I wanted to do AI crypto. I wanted healthcare, finance, education, and like these, we just didn't have space.
The demand is just huge.
Yeah.
Demand is crazy.
There's a lot of demand for AI bio as well. So like I just like what I focus here, these 18 things are people that I have the network to make sure like I have good keynotes for every one of them. And we had enough submissions that like I felt like it could make us a compelling track. But really, like, a track is 7 talks.
Yeah.
And there's more than 7 interesting people
in
every discipline. Yes. So really it's more about like just get everybody in one place. Like the tracks are like for them together. Like, if you're the MCP person, like if you made your whole career MCP, or you're betting on MCP, you go to the MCP track, not even to speak, just to meet everyone else in MCP.
Yeah. I think one of the huge things for me been since like joining AI engineer as a participant, as a media person who covers, meeting the folks that were pre-selected to give talks as well. It's like a huge thing. So folks, if you're into this, if you're like you made your whole career MCP, you want to get to the point where like you talk at the MCP track. Because then you get to meet other people who were pre-selected to talk at the MCP track.
I'm trying to make the point that like the talks are just they're short, they're 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah.
Like, and like everyone, like, yes, obviously the Anthropic team has a lot to say, but like so do the audience, and like it's more about getting the community in one place so that they can
the hallway track.
Yeah,
hallway track. This year is the first time we're doing attendee talks. So I'm very excited about that.
Wait, tell us about this.
We literally call it the hallway track.
Okay.
But it is not like stand around and talk. It is you actually have presentations. We give you.
At the end of the hall, there's like a little stage and everything.
Little stage. It's recorded. It goes on YouTube, like the whole thing. And I think basically that is the best part of some of the more community-oriented conferences that we've been missing so far.
You made the hallway track in quotes. You just remove the quotes. It's an actual track right now.
Real track. And people submit. The top voted ones get selected.
So besides the fact that you made it into an actual thing, the hallway track, as you like affectionately call this, is just like the vibing people in the hallway between the talks.
Yeah. So one of my favorite highlights so far was Jason Liu came up to me. Mm-hmm. Jason's pretty skeptical guy sometimes, and he was like, I think that this year the conversation is like very different. Like people actually building, and it's like not too many salespeople here, like they're not trying to sell me their startup.
We heard, Roman, you remember this yesterday? We talked with who's that? Was that Ahmed from Langbase?
Yeah.
Ahmed from Langbase. This week we talked with Ahmed, and do you remember the actual thing he said?
He was comparing this conference to some other unnamed conferences and how
we have an enemy.
Conference.
We have an enemy, HumanX. So HumanX came out of nowhere, and like it's a very splashy big conference.
Really, I haven't even heard. I don't know who those are.
Yeah, but if you're a sponsor, you have to decide who you're going to support.
Yeah.
If you're a speaker, you're like, I only can go to so many conferences a year. Who are you going to support? So they are competing with us.
Oh, folks, it looks like we have a. Yeah, you can pull up the mic. Unmute,
Myself and my fellow LGBTQ members of the community, I would like to wish you all a happy Pride. I also want to hear from my jet lag crew. Who, show of hands, woke up at 4 a.m. this morning? 5 a.m.? Who's still not awake now?
When Logan comes on, okay? We're gonna keep talking. So switch the track as well, specifically because the salespeople comment that you mentioned. We chatted with Ahmed from Langbase. He's one of the sponsors. He has a booth. He told us he has a way to know if the conference has those people or these people. And basically he said, if you fist bump a lot of folks, that's developers. If you have strong handshakes, those are salespeople. And I was like, that makes sense. And so since then, I'm not shaking hands anymore. Just like doing fist bump. So thank you for coming up to the thing. We've chatted with a bunch of folks yesterday.
By the way, shout out to Ahmad. So we also launched the online track, right?
Yeah.
And this is basically, one, it just creates more space for people to speak. But two, also it is my backup speaker list in case people drop out. Last year, 5 people dropped out the 24 hours before the conference started. And I was like, I need backups. Yeah. So I have a whole bunch of people. And then this year, nobody dropped out. So
you queued up a bunch of folks.
Yeah. But I'm also awarding best speaker titles and awards and trophies for trophies to each track. So the highest viewed track on the online, highest viewed talk on the online track, which Ahmad is doing, is currently number 1, gets the trophy.
With Chai, right?
Yeah. So Ahmad is playing very, very well, very savvy. He's playing exactly what we want, which is like, push your talk, like, get visibility for your projects. Like that's what we want to give. Yeah,
that's great. And so you guys definitely should check out Langbase and Ahmad and the folks who are building Chai, which is vibe coding agents, which is super cool. And we had a chat with them. We had a chat with like a bunch of folks yesterday. We will probably wait for Logan to come up and then tune in, right, Yam? Once he does, feel free to unmute, and then we want to see if Logan has like breaking news.
Are you gonna cross stream the official stream or from Yam's?
I could cross the official stream. Yeah, I could do that.
Just that one might be more.
Okay, so so Roman, I will let you interview Swix for another question, and then I'll do this.
What do you want to do?
Yeah. So the conference is 18 tracks. It's 3,000 people.
Yeah.
It's your 3rd year so far. It has grown in all of these ways. You've mentioned a little bit about how you're expecting stuff to change over time as well, but didn't really get to dig into that too much. The scene is changing. You're saying other countries. You're saying kind of the world. Like people are interested. Like for example, I went to an MCP talk, and the room is full, and the line is all the way down the hall and around the corner. There's folks who are super interested in this stuff. It was MCP. How do you make it ready for the enterprise? How do you make it ready for these? Like people are very interested.
Yeah.
So obviously it can't stop here. What do you see the future of AI conferences? Your conference, how's it growing?
I don't know, man.
What are your ambitions? What are your ambitions in this space?
So we have a few conferences that we respect that we think are positive for the industry. So. For example, NeurIPS is very good for researchers, and in many ways, AI engineering is NeurIPS for engineers, right? Like instead of papers being the center of attention, you have products being center of attention. Instead of researchers being center of attention, you have engineers. And so, I think we just need something for our industry that is a complement to those things. And NeurIPS is 17,000 people, so very huge. But also, it has downsides. Like size is not everything, right? So I want to make sure that I acknowledge that as well. The other stuff like GDC, Game DevCon, really good for this, just the state of the art in games. Like anything that's like Game of the Year, they like do a bunch of talks about how they make it work. And like I also want people to just like drop alpha like that. Like nowhere else will you hear people talk about like how they build the crowd AI and like the open worlds in Spider-Man PlayStation 4, except at GDC, right? And that is the Game of the Year. Right, so here equivalently, like the sort of AI products of the year, I want people to come here and talk about how they did it, so that other people can learn and grow the industry that way. They have honestly not much incentive to do it, except for they're just giving back to the community. And like that's the hard part, right? Like you want to have those people because they're not selling you anything.
Yeah,
they're just like, we figured out something hard. It's cool. Here's how we did it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is like people who present here and people who attend here. They're not selling something. They're talking to their peers.
Some I mean, maybe
obviously selling, yeah, for sure. I mean,
and let's just say like a lot of people change jobs immediately after they give their talk.
Oh wow!
I wonder why.
Yeah, interesting. But they're still talking to folks who get it, and you can kind of kick back and let loose a little bit in those kind of contexts, right?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. And like honestly, it's just nice to hang with your people.
Yeah.
And so one way to do it very well is have a speaker status and hang with other speakers, and it's kind of nice. But even non-speakers as well. Like I think they get a lot out of just being in the same room and like having same density of talent in there.
So that makes sense. So this conference grows as the community of folks who feel interested and passionate about this stuff grows.
Yeah.
Because that's where they find their peers.
No, I think the challenge is this way, right? Like I told you about the other things that we did not manage to cover. So we've already grown to 18. It means like
folks, I think we have Logan coming up.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. Excited for the AI Education Summit. Should be fun. My name's Logan. I do developer stuff at DeepMind, and I'm excited to talk about Gemini stuff. Yeah, hopefully folks know what Gemini is, so no introduction needed. I'll talk about three things really quickly. We'll do some fun announcement stuff. We'll talk about sort of recapping a year of progress in Gemini, and then we'll talk about what's coming next across the model side, across the Gemini app side, and also across, of course, the developer platform. So the fun stuff, which is we announced a new Gemini model today. So we haven't officially announced it.
On the
stage. New Gemini model. This is hopefully the final update to 2.5 Pro. I think folks have given us tons of feedback about the changes, and I think my slide has an animation which is hiding all this stuff. But Gemini 2.5 Pro is awesome. It's super powerful. Bunch of increases across benchmarks people care about. It's SOTA on AIDR, and it's SOTA on HLE and some other benchmarks. I think it closes the gap on a bunch of the stuff that folks gave us feedback on from the previous versions of the model. So hopefully it has great performance across the board. It also, I think, is like sort of setting the stage for the future of Gemini. I think 2.5 Pro for us internally, and I think in the perception from the developer ecosystem, was the turning point, which was super exciting. So it's awesome to see the momentum. We've got a bunch of other great models coming as well. So 2.5 Pro, hopefully the final version. Send us feedback if things don't work, and we'll continue to push the rock up the hill. You can go to ai.dev if you want to try it out. It's also available in the Gemini app and all that other stuff. And if you need anything, email us, and we'll make it happen.
He has agents.
All right, new model launched. Let's talk about a year of Gemini progress. I think this has been the craziest thing. So I don't know if folks tuned in to Google I/O, but Sundar showed this slide on stage, which I think was a great reminder for me of just how much, like, it feels like 10 years of Gemini stuff packed into the last 12 months, which has been awesome. And it's actually interesting to see as well, just to sort of opine on one of the points, like all of these different research bets across DeepMind coming together to like build this incredible mainline Gemini model. And I think this is actually, like, I have a conversation with people all the time about like what's the DeepMind strategy? What's the advantage for us building models, all that good stuff. And I think the interesting thing to me is just this breadth of research happening across like science and Gemini and all these other areas like robotics and things like that. And all that actually ends up upstreaming into the mainline models, which is super exciting. So you see like the alpha proof and alpha geometry and a bunch of stuff that we did on with custom models in those areas, actually improving the performance of our models for those domains. And Jack will talk about that in a little bit, which I'm super excited about. The other thing is just like not just the pace of innovation, but the pace of adoption. So I think Sundar also showed this slide, which was a 50x increase in the amount of AI inference that's being processed through Google servers from 1 year ago to last month. And I think that it is just remarkable to see the amount of increase in demand for Gemini models and also from the external developer ecosystem. So it's been wonderful to see that happen. I think the other question, and I think this is like talked about a little bit, which is sort of what got us to this point. I think one of the critical pieces, and like it's not super fun, but is worth thinking about for folks who are building companies here, is like an organizational thing, truthfully. Like I think you bring together, Google historically had lots of different teams doing lots of different AI research. And in late 2023, early 2023, Google brought a bunch of those teams together and sort of charted this new direction for the DeepMind team to not only just like do theoretical foundational research, but also to like build models and deliver them to the rest of Google and also the external world. And then we took the second step of that journey earlier this year, which was actually bringing the product teams into DeepMind. So now DeepMind creates the models, does the research, but then also builds products and delivers those to the world. And we have the Gemini app, which is our consumer product, and then we have the developer side of that with the Gemini API. And this has been, like, personally for me, super fun to get to collaborate with our research team and like help actually be on the frontier with them and bring new models and capabilities to the world. I think this is like the collaboration that works incredibly well. Yeah, and we ship lots of stuff. I think this is the most fun part. Is there's so much stuff, so much innovation happening inside of Google. It's incredible to get to bring that to the world and bring that to developers. And I think we're actually very early in that journey, and as we'll see in a couple of minutes.
I don't see Dolphin John.
So in summary, the formula is simple: bring the best people together, find infra advantages, and ship.
Yep.
I don't know if folks have played around with VO or not, but it's also been just incredible to see the reception to VO. It's burning all the TPUs down, which has been incredible to see. Lots of demand, lots of interest on the VO front.
What comes next?
So hopefully folks get a chance to play around. It's available in the Gemini app right now. All right, so let's talk about what next. This is the fun stuff. So I think the sort of Gemini app piece is interesting just because people talk about it a lot, and it's a fun product, and it's cool to think about. And also sort of, I think, for folks building stuff, it's interesting to hear like what our strategy is from the app perspective. But the Gemini app is trying to be this universal assistant. I think what that means in practice is if you, I'm sure people don't think about this all the time, but I think a lot about like what Google's products do and sort of how we show up in the world. And one of the interesting observations I had was that if you think about what was the thing that like brought people, individuals, through all of Google's products historically, like the thing that comes to mind is like your Google account, I guess, which like wasn't like super stateful. You would sort of sign into lots of different Google products with your Google account, but that didn't really do anything other than just like get you signed into that individual product. I think now we're seeing with Gemini that it's actually this thread that unifies all of Google, and I think the future for Google is going to look a lot like Gemini is this sort of thread that brings all of our stuff together, which is really interesting. And then hitting on all the trends, which I'm sure folks are also excited about building. I think the one that I'm most excited about is proactivity. I think most AI products today are still very like, you have to go and do all the work for the user. And I think this proactive next step of AI systems and models coming into play is going to be awesome to see. Yeah, and the team is moving super fast. If you have complaints, please do not tag me on Twitter. Please tag Josh. He will make it happen. Josh is incredible. The Gemini app team is amazing. He's pushing the team super hard, so it's incredible to see all the progress. But he is the person who can make stuff happen on the Gemini app side, not me. So please tag him. From a model perspective, like again, there's so much. When Gemini was originally created, it was built to be a single multimodal model to do audio, image, video, et cetera. We've made a lot of progress on that. At I/O this year, we announced native audio capabilities in Gemini. There's TTS, there's audio. You can talk to the model. It sounds super natural, which is awesome. It's powering the Astra experience. It's powering Gemini Live. So I think we're going to get towards that omnimodal model, which is awesome. We have VO, which is SOTA across a bunch of stuff. So hopefully we'll get video into the mainline Gemini model. If folks saw some of our early experiments with diffusion, which means you can get like crazy levels of tokens per second, really interesting. That's like definitely a research exploration area, and it's not mainline yet. So it'll be cool to see that come. The agentic by default thread, I think, is something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, which is like historically, for me as a developer, I've thought about models just as this thing that gives me tokens in and out, and then there was lots of scaffolding in the ecosystem to allow me to build with those models. I think it's becoming very clear to me that the models are becoming more systematic themselves, like they're doing more and more. And I think the reasoning step is this like really interesting place in which a lot of that's going to happen. And Jack's going to talk about the scaling up of reasoning. But I do think it'll be interesting to see like how much of the scaffolding work that's happened in the past ends up just like being a part of that reasoning step, and like what that means for people who are building products and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll also have more small models soon, which I'm excited about, and big models. People want large models, which I know. So I'm excited about that. And then the last one is continuing to push the frontier on infinite context. I think the current model paradigm doesn't work for infinite context. I think it's just like impossible to scale up. Attention doesn't work that way. So I think there'll be some new innovations to hopefully help let people continue to scale up the amount of context that they're bringing in.
So Informers are dead. Logan said it.
And Tulsi is the person who drives all of our model stuff. So if you have stuff, you want to talk about Gemini models, you have ideas for things that don't work well, she is the person running the show on the Gemini model product side. And then developer stuff. So we have lots of things coming, which I'm excited about. I think I'll highlight maybe 3 that I think people are super excited about. Embeddings, I think we have, which is, feels like early AI stuff, but I think is still super important. Embeddings power most people's applications using RAG. We have a Gemini embeddings model, which is state of the art. So excited to be rolling that out to developers more broadly in the next couple of weeks. The deep research API I'm super interested in. There's so many interesting products that are built around this sort of research tasks, and people love the consumer product, so we're finding ways to bring a bunch of that together into a bespoke deep research API, which will be awesome. And then VO3 and Imagine 4 in the API as well. So hopefully we'll see that very, very, very soon. And as we work to scale and make that possible from a developer platform side. I'll make one other quick comment, which is the AI Studio product positioning, which I also think is interesting. Like AI Studio, just to be very clear, is being built as a developer platform. So we'll sort of move away from this kind of consumery feel, move much more toward being a developer platform, which I'm personally very excited about because I think that's what developers want from us. So it'll be awesome to see that actually come to life with many new iterations of our developer experience with agents built in, and hopefully things like Jules and some of our developer coding agents natively in that experience, which will be awesome to see. Yeah, and that's what I have. I appreciate all the people who send lots of great feedback about Gemini stuff. So we'll keep pushing the rock up the hill, and I'll be around. So if you have more feedback, come find me, and we'll keep making Gemini great for everyone. So thanks, and I appreciate it.
All right. We're going live to the engineer keynote, and hopefully folks got a chance to also see that. Logan has been killing it in Google since he joined.
Oh yeah,
it's incredible. Like I remember Logan as the person in OpenAI that people kind of talk about. So I'm assuming you as well. Logan was the guy in OpenAI for a while.
He
I no
was
longer
also the first guest on our podcast.
The first one.
Yeah.
Latent Space #1 is Logan Kilpatrick. No way.
Yeah.
And
actually now he made a very rare transition from developer relations to product manager.
Yeah.
And I think more DevRel should do that. Because you know what people want, and then you go and actually implement it.
Interesting. Because he keeps doing developer relations. Maybe it's not his job, but he talks to developers. He is very public about stuff releases, and it feels like he got to a point where okay, he will continue doing relations just by nature of him being out there.
I mean the dirty secret is you don't actually need the job title to do the job, and anyone who has developer that he can do it. Some people they just need to do it full time because you need a lot of time to work on content and stuff.
Yes, presentations. As we saw, the slides are just bullet points.
That was done last night.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. He's actually doing the work, and that's what we want to feature.
Yep. Logan is great, and I no longer associate Logan with OpenAI. I don't even remember that part. He's been so embedded with the Gemini team, Gemini. It's been incredible. Speaking of developers, relations people who that's not their main job, Josh Woodward that he mentioned.
Yeah.
Josh was the main guy behind Labs, Google Labs, and now Josh runs the whole Gemini.
Yeah, it's promoted.
It's been moved and promoted.
Do you want to mention actually Logan will be joining us?
Logan, folks, you heard it here first.
I think basically Logan wants to come with Jack, so let's just watch Jack's talk.
Okay. You want to watch? Okay, let's
Jack
do
will
it.
come up together.
All right, folks, we're gonna tune into Jack Ray, right?
Yeah.
All right.
A researcher at Google. Hi, everybody. My name's Jack. I'm a researcher at Google, and I'm the tech lead of thinking within Gemini. And I'm going to give a brief deep dive into thinking from the research perspective within Gemini. So,
Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, we couldn't make
it's thinking so much. I think this clicker might not work. So let's drive the next slide. If you can drive slide, whoever the slide driver is, please drive to the next slide. Gemini?
I think the joke is Absolutely. We're going to get AGI before.
But yeah, whilst we maybe sort out the slide issue, I'm going to kind of give this talk in 3 stages. One is to give a research motivation of why we actually are excited about thinking in terms of unblocking bottlenecks towards intelligence, and I'm going to give a kind of give a few examples of how often discovering the most prescient bottlenecks in kind of our current models, our most advanced systems, how often if you can just identify the crucial kind of issues and shortcomings, you often will then find a solution. And there's a reason how that is linked to thinking. I'm then going to talk a little bit more just pragmatically about what is thinking in Gemini, why is it interesting to developers. And I think someone is, OK. The slides are still not here. We did do a rehearsal this morning where the slides are there. But yeah, keynote speaker slide. Yeah, I can see someone. Yeah, keynote speakers folder.
What's he doing? He's waiting for slides.
Jack Ray.
Yes. We're going to skip this. Skip.
It's going to come up soon. You are close. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about what's next. I'm just watching. There you go. Nice one. Yeah, that's great. OK, the slides will appear. Thank you, whoever is coordinator. Apologies, I don't know what happened. And then I'm just going to talk a bit about what's next. So Logan did a great job of kind of giving an incredible overview of Gemini as a whole ecosystem, everything that's going on. I'm going to really be focusing on kind of what we're excited about in the reasoning space. So with intelligence bottlenecks, we're kind of the message of this section is really about progress. So progress has really been marked by identifying key bottlenecks towards intelligence and then solving them. And I'm going to kind of give some examples throughout history. I'm going to actually rewind the clock to 1948. Claude Shannon, he invents the language model, mathematical theory of communication. He builds a language model, a 2-gram, using a textbook of word statistics that was hand-calculated. And he samples from it, and he kind of marvels at the samples. He feels like these are getting pretty good. They're a lot better than unigram character, this 2-gram word model. But kind of he remarks, like, I think this would be better if we could really like make a better language model and scale up this current method. So he really wanted to just scale up the n-gram. That was the bottleneck, like small amount of data, very elementary statistics. And unfortunately for Claude Shannon, kind of the solution was pretty hard. He needed the digitalization of human knowledge, and he needed modern computing to be able to aggregate these statistics at scale. So that wasn't so easy for him to solve. He had it a bit more tricky. But fast forward a few decades, at Google in the 2000s, my colleagues such as Jeff Dean are training n-gram language models over trillions of tokens. These are powering, at the time, the most sophisticated speech recognition and translation systems. And a lot of progress has been made. But their bottleneck was actually, with these systems, was that these n-gram language models were very restricted to short context. And they were because there's an exponential storage cost with context length. And there wasn't really a way around that with just sticking with n-grams. The solution was the early kind of introduction of deep learning in 2010 with the introduction of recurrent neural language models, so recurrent neural networks applied to modeling text, where the recurrent neural networks could avoid this problem by storing compressed representation of the past into the state of a neural network, and they could now start to model beyond a 5-gram sentences or even paragraphs, and this was a massive kind of step change in improvement. However, a couple of years later, people would notice even there was a bottleneck. So the recurrent neural network's representation of the past is in a fixed size state, and this fixed size state, there's only so much information you could put into it, and so as a result, there's often observed to be kind of a lossy kind of representation of its context. The solution that was derived, I think, once people kind of really encountered this information bottleneck in the past, was actually just keep everything around in terms of your past neural embeddings and use an attention operator to aggregate things on the fly. So this was the birth of attention, and then shortly after transformers. So transformers then kind of led to the modern deep learning revolution as we know it, and many other progress was made. But if we skip forward 10 years, we then are in 2024. We have large language models. They're increasingly powerful general conversational agents. We have models such as Gemini, ChatGPT. People are using them for all sorts of use cases. And that's where we kind of come to the bottleneck that's relevant to this talk, which is that although these models are very, very powerful, they're still trained to respond immediately to requests. So in other words, in terms of a compute bottleneck, there is a constant amount of compute that they apply at test time to transition from your request or your question to the response or your answer. So the bottleneck of test time compute, this is relevant to thinking. So we can unpack this a little bit more. So when we talk about a fixed amount of test time compute, the test time compute is interesting to you because that's the compute that the model is spending on your particular problem, your particular question. And the way it actually kind of mechanically works is you have some text in your request, it gets translated to tokens, and then it's going to go through a language model. And at the transition from the request to its response, it's going to pass some computation up through a large language model, which will have some parallel computation for every layer, and it'll have some iterative computation across layers. So that computation is really where the model can apply its intelligence to your particular problem, and it's of fixed size. One solution, if you wanted a smarter model and more computation, is just to make the model larger. And then you can have more compute, and you can get a smarter response. However, it's still not really enough. Users might want to be able to think 1,000 or 1,000,000 times and have a very large dynamic range and a lot of compute for very hard or challenging or valuable tasks. And also, users might want to have a very dynamic application of test time compute. So less compute for simpler requests, more compute for harder requests, and have this process be very dynamic and instigated by the model. And that is what motivates thinking. So thinking in Gemini, mechanically, I'm sure almost everyone in this room is familiar with this general process where we will now have a model and we insert a thinking stage that the model can emit some additional text before it decides to emit a final answer. So going back to this notion of test time compute now, we've added an additional kind of loop of computation where the model can kind of iteratively loop and perform additional test time compute during this thinking stage. And this loop can be potentially thousands or tens of thousands of iterations, which gives you tens of thousands more compute before it decides to commit to what its response will be. And also, because it's a loop, it's dynamic. So the model can learn how many iterations of this loop to apply before it decides to actually commit to its answer. We train this model to think, to use this kind of thinking stage via reinforcement learning. So when we pre-train Gemini, we then have, after a reinforcement learning stage where we train it to do many different tasks and we give it positive and negative rewards, depending on whether or not it solves the task correctly or not. And this is essentially a very general training recipe, really. And it's kind of remarkable it works, that the model is able to just get a very vague signal of what is correct and what is not correct, and to backpropagate this through this loop of thinking stage such that it can try and shape how it uses its thinking, computation, and thinking tokens in order to be more useful. In fact, we weren't really sure this would work. It wasn't clear how much structure we should put into something like a reasoning stage. And although I think probably many people here have now seen reasoning traces and played with these models, I'll just show you a historical artifact from one of the times we were trying to use reinforcement learning. We started to see cool emergent behavior. So in this problem, there's kind of like an integer prediction problem. This was just like a kind of a particular example. In this case, kind of like a mathsy example. And what we saw was the model was using its thinking tokens to actually first pose a hypothesis and then test out the hypothesis. And then it found that basically things weren't really working. And it kind of states that this formula doesn't hold. It rejects its own idea. And then it tries an alternative approach. And I think it's easy to become desensitized to technology because it's so amazing every single day. But we were truly blown away when we saw the general recipe of reinforcement learning was creating all sorts of interesting emergent behavior, trying different ideas, self-correction. And I think these days, we see a lot of different strategies that the model learns to do. So it learns to break down the problem into various components, explore multiple solutions, draft fragments of code and build these up in a modular way, perform intermediate calculations and use tools, all under the umbrella of using more test type compute to give you a smarter response. OK, so I've talked a bit about why we are interested in thinking in terms of the path to AGI and unblocking bottlenecks of intelligence, and just a little bit about mechanically what it is. Why is it interesting to developers? Obviously, the #1 reason is we think this is driving more capable models. and it also stacks on top of our current paradigms of how we accelerate model progress. So thinking, we can kind of accelerate this process by scaling the amount of test time compute, and we find that this can stack as a paradigm on top of pre-existing paradigms such as pre-training, where you can scale the amount of pre-training data and model size, and also post-training, where you can scale the quality and diversity of human feedback for many different types of tasks. And as a result, within Google, by investing in all of these and really accelerating all of them, we get kind of a multiplicative effect. And why is this interesting to developers? I think it results in just overall faster model improvement, which is very nice. We also see, if we kind of look back over a lineage of recent Gemini launches, there's improved reasoning performance, and we can actually map this to how much test time compute these models will devote to problems. So there's kind of like a log scale test time compute on the x-axis and performance across like math, code, and some science topics. And we see that there's kind of this trend in increasing reasoning performance, whilst also it tracks very well with increasing test time compute. And on the far left, you have 2.0 Flash experimental. This was a model that was not launched with thinking back in December last year, so ancient history. And now we have on the right-hand side, the first launched version of 2.5 Pro. So test time scaling is working empirically, but it's not just capability that matters. It's also interesting from the notion of being able to steer the model's quality over cost. So before, you had the option of choosing a discrete number of possible model sizes, and that was a way to gauge how much quality you wanted and also how much cost you wanted to spend, cost you wanted to kind of incur for any given task. But it was kind of a discrete choice. Now with thinking, we can have a continuous budget, which allows you to have a much more granular slider of how much capability you want for any given kind of class of tasks. And we have thinking budgets now launched in Flash and Pro in the 2.5 series. And this allows you to have very granular choice of cost to performance, and also allows us to then push the frontier and allow you to kind of augment and drive cost higher and performance higher if your application requires it. So, OK, I think a lot of this stuff is really covering ground that, up to the present day. So what's next and what are we excited about? So we're very excited about just generally improving the models and having better reasoning, of course. We're also excited about making the thinking process as efficient as possible. Really, we want thinking to just work for you and be quite adaptive and be something that you don't have to actively spend a lot of energy tuning. And a big part of that is ensuring our models are very efficient in how they use their thoughts. This is definitely an area of progress. I think we can find examples of our models overthinking on tasks, and this is just an area of research to get these things faster and faster and as cost-effective as possible. We're very proud of how cost-effective our Gemini models are, and this is just an area for improvement as well. And there's also deeper thinking, which is really about scaling the amount of inference compute further to drive even higher capability. So people may be familiar with Gemini Deep Research, where you can kind of type in a query, and then the model will go away for a long period of time and research a topic. We're also now have announced at I/O, and we're launching to trusted testers, a notion of deep think. Deep think is a very high budget mode, thinking budget mode built on top of 2.5 Pro. And its desired application is for things where you have a very hard problem and you're happy to essentially fire off the query and then have some asynchronous process that's running for a while, and you'll come back to arrive at a stronger solution. And its key idea is we leverage much deeper chains of thought and parallel chains of thought that can integrate with each other to produce better responses. We find this enhances model performance on very tough multimodal code math problems. An example would be USA Math Olympiad. This is a task that basically the state-of-the-art model in January was completely negligible performance. 2.5 Pro is now probably even better with the updated one today. It was about a 50th percentile of all participants that participated in Math Olympiad. And with DeepThink, it goes up to 65 percentile. And the interesting thing about DeepThink is, as we continue to both improve the base model and improve the algorithmic ingredients that go into DeepThink, those two will stack together as well. Here is kind of like just like a video animation of one of these USA Math Olympiad algebra problems. And the key idea really with this video is just this notion of having multiple iterative ideas. So maybe the model starts out with some proof by contradiction idea, but then it explores two different aspects, some Rolle's theorem, Newton's inequalities, it integrates them, and eventually arrives at some correct proof. There's not that much you can take away from this video, but it looks pretty cool, so I added it. Yeah. One thing that's, other than we talk about math a little bit in the previous slides, I'm very excited about any application where the model can spend longer and longer thinking on very open-ended coding tasks and one-shot or very few interaction vibe code, things that would have taken us months in the past. And one example that I like from a researcher is just some of my colleagues kind of vibe coded from DeepMind's original DQN paper, which was a revolution in deep reinforcement learning, kind of vibe coded, Gemini vibe coded the kind of training setup, the algorithm, even an Atari emulator such that it could play some of the games. And this is remarkable to me because these kind of things would have taken me and my colleagues months in the past, and these things are starting to happen kind of in minutes. One thing I'm quite excited about looking forward to the future is not really the landscape of models, but coming back to what's our gold standard, which is the human mind. I would love for our models to be able to contemplate from a very small set of knowledge and think about it incredibly deeply such that we can push the frontier. And one example I often think about is Ramanujan, who's one of the world's greatest mathematicians from the early 20th century. And famously, he just had this one math textbook. He was kind of cut away from the mathematical community, but he just from a small set of problems, he spent many textbooks worth of thinking, going through problems, inventing his own theories to further extend ideas, and he invented an incredible quantity of mathematics, really just by deeply thinking from a small source subset. And this is where I think we are going with thinking. We want a model to be able to be incredibly data efficient and actually go to millions or beyond of inference tokens where the model is really building up knowledge and artifacts such that we can eventually start to push the frontier of human understanding.
And people don't really love them.
So with that said, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And,
Alrighty, we watched Jack Ray, and hopefully Jack is going to join us in a second. We're back here. No, we're actually back here. There we are. All right, folks, with over 3,000 people now tuned in to this live stream.
Shit.
Yeah. Or at
you
least,
got the numbers there, right?
Yeah, we got the numbers running almost 2,000 folks.
Oh, you beat us.
I think so, but I don't know if all of them are live here. Swix, we had both Logan and Jack Ray. Jack runs thinking for
research lead for
research lead.
Yeah, basically it works with Notion Shazir.
Oh, with Shazir?
Yeah.
Okay, that's so dope, man. We're gonna have to ask him a few questions.
We tried Noam as well, but we're more than happy to have to host Jack, and obviously probably Jack can speak more, I guess, clearly about what they're doing. I think if Noam says anything, it's always subject to a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah, definitely. Noam famously has been reacquired at Google after a stint at Character AI for some amount of billions of dollars. This acqui-hire trend has been going on recently.
Yeah, I call it execu-hire.
Execu-hire.
Because you hire the executives, but not the employees.
So we have Noam Shazir from Character. Same happened with Mustafa Suleiman from Inflection AI. Mustafa and Karen Simonian, I believe. There's also a high-level executive that's down in Microsoft as well. Some amount of this
as well.
Stability as well. Who from Stability? Matt went and
the rest of Stability.
Oh yeah, and the folks went to BFL, and then recently, not an acqui-hire, but an acqui-merger, basically, with Sam Altman and Johnny Ive with the IO. So basically, IO was kind of integrated into OpenAI as well. Thoughts on IO, by the way? Any thoughts?
I really hope it's a phone, because then they seem to not want to do a phone.
I don't think it's going to be a phone.
Yeah.
They want to step away from screens.
Okay, so what I've heard is it's not a phone, it's not a pendant, or it's not a wearable.
Yeah.
It's another thing. And I'm like, how many things can there be? So basically, if it's not a wearable, but it's a hardware object, that is confirmed, but you have to have it on you, it's another phone. basically. Like there's no other
Can't be
things in
glasses?
the pocket. Yeah, I mean, oh, maybe it's glasses.
Could be glasses. I don't think it's glasses. There's the guy who always knows the supply chain for iPhones, Min K something. Minchiko. Yeah, he talked about the device with camera, with microphones, and looks a little bit like a round iPod. That's what he like reported so far.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, that's what I fear is that it's basically a totem that you carry around with you. There's a second thing in your pocket, right? But if like, why have a second thing in my pocket when I can just have my phone?
Yep.
And just give me OpenAI iPhone. Everyone wants OpenAI iPhone.
Everybody wants OpenAI iPhone.
Like,
you think OpenAI iPhone can get to iPhone quality?
Sure, they have the money.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They have the team now that works on the iPhone.
They had some of the team. Yeah. Maybe they don't have the. I believe.
I think
1 million.
So. I think the Taiwan supply chain will be more than happy to help OpenAI.
All right, folks. If OpenAI wants to bring us a phone, but it's probably not going to be. It's something they actually publicly said they want to move away from screens. Folks, okay, so we are waiting. Yam, I would love to. Yam, are you with us? We want to see you on stage. We want to interview a few folks from the hall. Yam, if you're still with us, would love to bring you up. There Yam is, hopefully. Finding a Wi-Fi spot. Yeah, there you go. Yam, I'm muting you right now. Oh, I cannot. You should unmute yourself, please.
Why can't you unmute him?
All right. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you live from the floor. I think it's all right as long as we can hear you as well. People will tune in.
I'm kind of curious how you can.
I would love for you to interview someone from the floor. So
no problem.
We can grab a random person, a random attendee, and we want to hear their experience with the AI engineer. We just got 3,000.
Would you like to be interviewed to the officials with the conference? Yeah, sure, of course. So.
Alrighty, we can see what we can.
Hey.
Yam, go ahead. This is all you. I can see like who's talking, so feel free to interview.
Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Cesar. I have a background in full stack engineering with JavaScript. But now I'm just building AI applications with either JavaScript or Python.
Alex,
we couldn't hear the name, but we heard everything else. JavaScript. What's your name again? Sorry.
Cesar.
Cesar, nice to meet you, Cesar. Where are you coming from? To AI engineer.
Mexico.
Oh, you're coming from Mexico. That's awesome.
Yeah.
International and World's Fair. That's what it's called. Yeah. Cesar, you're here with Alex Volka from Waiting Biases and Switch, the organizer. Any exciting talks for you? What do you find the most exciting so far?
The amount of progress we have done in voice AI is starting to previous year it was just turn-based models. Now we have full duplex models. At least I see that's the industry going. And I feel very great to be here and learn from firsthand about the new trends. And yeah, I'm very happy.
That's awesome. Did you take any workshops as well, or did you go only to talks?
Yeah, I did. I did as many as I could.
If you can recall one workshop that particularly stood out for you, which one was it?
There's one with OpenAI, speech-to-speech model. It was very insightful, and after that workshop, I think we started using it more.
I got some really cool APIs for speech-to-speech, new APIs for real-time speech-to-speech. So
I'm sorry. I'm going to let your interview.
Yeah, I didn't want to put it on me. Sorry. Cesar, have you attended the AI Engineer before? This is your first time?
No, first time here.
How did you hear about this? How did the information about the conference get to you?
Well, I'm a fan of the Learn in Space podcast.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think, yeah. Actually, I want to thank Sean because I was working as a front-end engineer, and then when he coined the term of AI engineering, I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to move into AI engineering, and here I am.
Let's
Oh,
go.
that's awesome, dude. That's incredible.
Thank you so much. It's so nice.
Yeah. So, thanks, guys.
So yeah, Swix came up with the term AI engineer, and now folks are like switching careers as well. Caesar, it's awesome to interview you. We could hear and see you as well. We hope you enjoyed the rest of the conference. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming up. Enjoy the
Alex,
rest of the
Thank you.
wait, I got another interview. Another interview for you right now.
Yeah, just so you know, we can't see, but we can hear. Like the image is frozen, but we can hear folks and we can see a little bit.
You can see me. You can see.
It's very spotty. I think 3,000 people.
Hello.
One moment. I'm checking if we are on the correct one. Okay. Alex, can you hear us? Can you see us?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear in your voice, at least.
Okay. Introduce yourself. Who are we speaking to?
I'm Tanish. How are you
Oh, let's go.
Let's go.
Folks, Tanish Abraham is a friend of the pod. Tanish, you've been on the pod before, right? And you know
Yes,
everyone.
several times.
But for those who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself for folks.
Yeah, I can introduce. I'm Tanish. I am the CEO of Sofont, a new startup building medical foundation models. Sorry.
Are you sure this is the background you want with the water cooler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
we see
The
you.
headphones. The headphones system. Yeah. Okay.
We see
So
some
I need to keep this in. Okay. So yeah, it's, the CEO of Sofont. I am the CEO of Sofont, and previously I was working on Stability AI, also working on medical AI and diffusion and language models. And yeah, I've been around in the AI community for some time, I guess.
You've been, sometime.
And I was, I guess around. I remember meeting Alex at the Stability AI launch event. What is it, like 3 years, almost 3 years ago?
3
now?
years
So,
ago.
Yeah, it's been a while that we've known each other, and that I've been, I guess listening to the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, Tanish, so not your first time at the engineer as well. We've hung out at the engineer. Were you just now on the keynote as well? And were you in the keynotes before?
Yes,
What
I
stood
was
out for you
checking
from the
out
conference?
The keynotes. It's been quite great. I think there've been like some really great keynotes. The Gemini one was kind of fun. I was like fun to see the Logan just launched the new Gemini model right on stage, and that was kind of funny. And then some of the other keynotes too. There's the one by Simon Wilson that was quite entertaining and interesting with all the the progress of the models over time with his benchmark. That was interesting. Yesterday the one with Greg Brockman, that was really great, and great job to Swix for a great interview. That was really entertaining. Some great questions from I guess I said it was questions from Dylan, from Matt, from a few people. So that was really nice. So
And
everyone
also we
a
had
good time.
the CEO of one of the bigger companies, like zoom in or whatever, like pre-recorded.
Yes.
So I told the
surprise.
AV team. I told the AV team that it was like a call from Paris, and they were like, "Oh, it's a call, it's a call." And I'm like, "No, guys, it's recorded."
It's recorded. Whose choice it was to speed up Jensen? Because Jensen's questions are like paragraph.
Yeah, me.
Yeah,
we asked him for 5 to 10 seconds. He gave us 3 minutes.
Yeah, of course.
And I had 40 minutes with Greg.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, there's no way. I need to speed it up.
Yes.
But hopefully it was still understandable.
Yeah, it was clear. It was clear what he wanted. Tanishq, how's the energy at the room? Like the Wi-Fi is not like showing us all the excitement, but like how's the energy in the whole track? Have you met people, new people? Have you met people you already know? Give us a little bit of a taste of like how it is on the floor of the engineer.
Yeah, it's really it's I guess electric energy here. Everyone is excited to be here, and I mean, both of the main keynote hall was completely full. There's like the overflow room, which is also filling up pretty rapidly. So yeah, it was like I think next year you guys definitely need a bigger venue. It's like you need a stadium at this point. It's like so many people,
you got the money for
fair enough. So there's a lot of people and having a great time here, and it's great to see a lot of familiar faces, but also new faces as well. A lot of people people that interacted with on Twitter and meeting them here for the first time. First time I'm meeting Yam in person. So
let's go.
Let's go.
It's great that we're meeting in person, and a lot of people also coming up to me. recognizing me as well. And, some of my other friends have been hanging out with like Alexa. A lot of people coming up to Alexa too. So it's just kind of fun to also just, everyone is here from all around the world. Yeah. So it's pretty fun. Yeah.
Alrighty, Tanish, thank you so much. Yam, thank you so much. Yam, feel free to come up, folks. As we conclude kind of the live report from the stage, feel free guys to grab this. We have 2 new guests joining us live here, just coming off of the stage. We have, let's see, remove this guy, and then we have
fresh from the keynote stage.
Yeah, fresh from the keynote stage. We have Logan Kilpatrick and Jack Ray. Jack, nice to meet you. I think we haven't met before. Logan, as always.
Nice
Do you print those like for yourself? Because last time we saw you,
made.
They're all one of one.
One of one, right? You had AGI win in Google I/O.
Yeah, I had to fight to
keep
letter on.
Oh, really?
Keynote. Well, they have a general policy. Slippery.
It's got to be like
they don't want shirts
clean
with text on. So I had good people took care of me. Let me wear my AGI.
So big model smell. That's a statement if no one knows what you're talking about.
Exactly. Someone said, "Is Big Model Smell your company?" As I was walking around the conference, I was like, "That would be kind of a weird name for a company." But
so I have joked about this, but I'm probably going to actually do it. I'm going to have a dinner club called High Taste Testers Club.
I like that. That's good. That is good.
Yeah, just like eat good food and then have high taste.
Yeah.
Maybe want to move the microphone a little bit.
Just a little bit for you.
Closer to your mouth. Actually, I would love to just to kick it off, just because you're on this topic. Can we like what does big model smell mean to both of you?
That's an incredible question.
Well, I think it obviously there's like a lot we don't capture with benchmarks. We're always kind of we're always advertising when we make a lot of progress on benchmarks, but there's like all this stuff that's missing. There is a lot of vibe testing, and I think it has become synonymous with all of the kind of surprising capability you're getting from a lot of qualitative interaction that just isn't reflected. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only other case where I've seen people use it is like people have like small models that look really good on benchmarks, but then you like
don't
actually
generalize
use the model and that you can like feel that it's not a big model. So that's the
Roman.
Yeah, that's the only one that opposite case.
How does one become a high-level tester then? Like, what differentiates folks who like get this from folks who have no idea? I have folks asking me all the time what model to use. I have the response of like it depends for your use case, and that's being like my default answer.
This high taste tester thing is just like everyone who has strong opinions like finally getting rewarded for having strong. It's like you're delusionally wrong, but you have strong opinions, and now you're a high taste tester.
Well, I do think there's something to be said for like for people that are always looking for like what is missing in models, and maybe a lot of people like build up their own private eval set of prompts, and they really know what they're looking for. And maybe like none of the models are really hitting the nail on the head right now, but like then as like new generations come out and they actually see these kind of held out private evaluations, like, oh, there's something really happening here. I have a more sophisticated way of discerning model quality than everyone else. I'm a high taste tester. I think that's like reasonable that people devote that energy, and it is quite useful for us because we're often just rapidly iterating on models, and we want to know like what are we missing, what do we need to improve on.
What's the biggest piece that's missing right now out of the list that probably you have feedback on and you have feedback on, Jack as well? What would you say people ask for the most right now? You've shipped like so much. It's kind of incredible to run through the list of things.
I was plugging for Dolphin Gemma. It wasn't on your slides.
Yeah,
I know. I'm sorry. Dolphin Gemma is a good meme.
Yeah.
It's also impressive.
Yeah. What would you say like one of the highest things that people still want? Like we still get like so many capabilities from these models.
You want to go?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I think one is like and back on getting more long context. I think it is interesting how much like scaling stopped at. I mean, I think advertising.
Suppose that some point.
I haven't tried it. I'm not sure how well that works, but it is interesting that it hasn't. So I think that I see. I haven't seen context out. That's one.
Yeah, I would say like very pragmatically, now that people are using more and more complex harnesses on top of these models, they want these models to use more and more tools, very like reliable and consistent tool use. Function calling is like a common just like pain point right now. I think we're making a lot of progress in this latest release of 2.5 Pro, but there's definitely work to be done. From my perspective, I often do segment though. There's like the loudest current requests are often very pragmatic things that are blocking people now. But like, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but like, it just needs to be AGI. It needs to get completely more reliable, more intelligent, be able to solve more open-ended tasks. And the funny thing is, people don't really ask for more AGI. They don't. They ask for very concrete, short-term things.
Yeah.
So it's always about balancing like the very concrete limitations of the current model, but really investing in the thing that not many people know how to articulate.
Yeah.
They want.
And how do you make that? I'm curious, like what for you practically, what does it look like that balancing act happen? It's just like we're gonna keep trying to talk to scaling reasoning and so many. Or is it just like we're just at and like?
Yeah, I think you have to have researchers that have high conviction bets and that they just keep driving on and they almost completely isolate their minds from all of the real world
Day-to-day.
practicalities of day to day. And they just have to look towards the medium or long term.
Does that describe what you do, or
Yeah, I think I try
you
and
silo yourself off?
Yeah, I think I try and balance it a little bit more. As a tech lead, you know, Gemini does have to be thinking and has to be useful in the short term. So I try and do a trade off. Things like thinking efficiency. That's like a very pragmatic thing that people need right now.
Yeah.
They need these models to be like fast. So I actually have to juggle it a bit. But we definitely incubate research groups which are just like completely unbothered by the current limitations.
current
and
thing.
just thinking about the next paradigm.
I feel like diffusion is an example right now, and I know there's lots of model, but I feel like it's a good example where it's like frontier.
Yeah. Do they want to see it from only a speed point of view, or is there some other quality of diffusion that is actually additive? Is it just speed?
It's not just speed. I think because the generative process is so different,
Yeah.
you have like a very different trade-off. Like editing, so natural with diffusion. You can train autoregressive models to edit in a variety of capacities. With diffusion, it's completely native to the process of generation. You can set which parts of
You
your
mask
sequence.
words.
Exactly. There's also like a lot of questions over whether this will be better for reasoning. I think we're like, you know, you're thinking about things more globally as you're kind of solving a problem, and so the jury's still out. Speed is definitely a very concrete thing we can point to, but we also think there could just be like very different flavor capability.
Yeah. You also hinted that you said something spicy like attention doesn't scale that way or something like that.
This is my, I mean, Jack, you have a better intuition than I do, but my understanding is like if you take the existing paradigm of context, like it is not feasible to do tokens. Not.
I think, yeah, like we kind of just try and give people like, this is the guarantee of like how much context the model can handle right now. And we want it, if we say it's like 2 million, we want it to feel like it's remembered absolutely everything in that 2 million context. And you could push it further and maybe then you would start to see like performance dropping off and that would be kind of underappreciated. So it's just a case of having the algorithmic breakthroughs such that we could push it much larger and it feels like it's truly studied absolutely everything in that gigantic context. So there's algorithmic research on that. There's people working on it. But yeah, it does feel like we had this step change last year, and the quality is improving, but there's probably more step changes.
I think there's also a bunch of infrastructure. Every time when we actually look at putting context into production practically, it's like always the biggest headache is making infrastructure work at that. Like such a problem.
Would you say that more long context is the gateway to like personalization? You spoke about personalization for the Gemini app. You spoke like one Google that knows your emails, maybe your Drive, etc. We're going towards there. Like you know, OpenAI now has all the memories that I've talked to, and it immediately unlock personalization because it remembers from past chats who am I? Are we going to see more of this from Gemini? And do you think that long context is something that like needs to unlock, or do we have enough for a good level that people feel, oh, this is my friend versus like this is a tool?
My 2 cents on this, Jack, is that like for long context to be the thing that enables personalization, I feel like then before we end up having to be far away from happening, because I think it's just like prohibitively prohibitive at large scale. Like if you were to use 2.5 and like do all that, like every single query costing an order of like $5.
Oh
like,
my God.
It's just like not like no one would be able to afford that. Like maybe if you were very rich, you could afford that product, but like for the masses, that's not going to be possible. So I feel like my sense is personalization. It'll be an harness situation, like I think that's limited, but like my guess is short to medium term. Maybe long term, how to scale to 100 will make that.
I mean, I think I'm curious what you're like excited for personalization to unlock for you. I think a lot of personalization goes beyond just knowing what you've done and knowing information about you. It might be more what you're expecting, what you like, or what the style of interaction is engaging for you.
I will tell you the thing that kind of keeps me on ChatGPT, and I want kind of more of it. And I think they just launched it listening to your Zoom meetings, for example. I think they launched it yesterday. We chatted about this on the podcast. Is not having to provide all of the context with every new query, like not having it be completely blank slate. And I actually know of folks who want both. Some folks want to approach these models as this is a tool and I need the cleanest context possible for the thing that I'm doing. I don't want to remember anything else I might have said about how I feel about that day, whatever. People just want the clean kind of blank slate, like incognito mode. But some people want, let's compare it to the browser thing. Some people want cookies. Some people want to be that thing that we're interacting with that intelligence to keep the conversation. Like me and Logan, we've met at Google I/O like last year, we met this year. We had some conversations. We now share mutual context that we can kind of like tap on, and from that perspective, kind of relationships are building. I noticed this with ChatGPT. I don't have it yet, I think, in Gemini, but I think that personalization of context switches it from a tool to kind of a more of a companion type relationship.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I think we'll get there.
All right.
I mean, the challenge is like to have empathy for building that product. Like, I really do think like you're basically reinventing the brain, which is tough. Like, there's just like your brain is biologically created to make that, to take the context that you and I had and like pull it in the real time. Like, there's so much complexity in actually making that happen. And I think especially as you like scale over like, you know, N sources across all of this, like there's just so much. I think like the biggest, the thing that I haven't seen work, and I've been playing around with a bunch of like, there's a bunch of new startups doing like memory for like from a developer perspective, and I've been playing around with a bunch of them. I think the hard part is they don't like sufficiently downweight like the historical stuff. It'll be like, oh, because I emailed someone 7 years ago and like I have no recollection that I emailed that person, somehow that's going to impact this like query that I'm doing right now. And like maybe steadily somehow behind the scenes it really is impacting my brain in some way, but like I have no memory of this at all. So it is like that like active versus passive. It's like a weird neuroscience problem to try to figure that out, because I think this is, to Jack, your point, I think this is like personalization is this expectation mismatch problem where like you're gonna expect the model to kind of work like your brain, which it's not going to in a lot of ways. Maybe you don't want it to work like your brain, you want something else. So I think there's gonna be a lot.
You know, I think a lot of people are familiar with like the Netflix Black Mirror episode on the entire history of you. Like, do you actually want to remember everything? Probably not. Like, probably there needs to be some kind of decay function or garbage of memories. I had a question that I asked Greg Brockman, and I want to pass on you guys. What are you currently bottlenecked on? You can choose from compute, data, algorithms, power, and money. You guys have a lot of money, but not infinite. What is your sort of maybe top 2 bottlenecks?
Say the list one.
So this is like, let's say for the next stage of AI, compute, data, algorithms, power, money. Power as in electricity.
Okay, that's good clarification.
Yeah.
Not organizational
Jack needs
power.
more soft power. What would you do with more power? I mean, you have a lot of power.
I mean, let's just throw compute in there because compute has been the acceleration. Even if you have a cool idea, you need a compute to arrive at that idea and then to scale it. And every single paradigm that we find is compute hungry.
Yeah.
And so if you could just 100x the amount of compute we had today, I think it would just linearly speed up our efficiency towards HO. We just have 100 speed up because right now we have lots of amazing ideas. We usually compute bound on, and then the ideas that work, we're scaling them. We usually compute bound on. So I feel like compute for me has to be there. I'll think of my second option. What about you?
Not one of the options. I think this is it's like a people. Like I think like do you have the right people coming up with the right ideas? Do you then have like the right organizational? Like at least in the Google world, I think like we have like Google spending $75 billion on that will probably we have.
How much of that is research versus?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't actually know what this is, but I think you can use them for similar things. So I think like we'll end up with like all of the raw ingredients. I think the actually organizationally go and execute on that. And I think at the human scale, it's like a very human problem. Human scale, that it's like it's actually a hard problem, given how much coordination is required to make all that happen. There's a lot of like, human inefficiency, maybe not like bottleneck as compute is, but it's certainly a bottleneck.
I want to come back to this point. Just to double click on compute. Let's say we held data constant, no more data, but we just throw more compute at it. So effectively more epochs per data set. I think the old consensus used to be you run one epoch on a data set and that's about it. But things sometimes creep up to 4 to 8. Is there a change in the meta on like data efficiency?
Yeah, I think if we were just confined to one paradigm, say it's only pre-training.
Yeah.
Then it would be frustrating if we never have any more data to keep getting more and more compute. Although it probably would accelerate.
You can do synthetic
research.
That's allowed.
Yeah. But I actually think the compute thing is more interesting when it's not just confined to one like paradigm like pre-training. It also allows you to explore new like algorithmic ideas. Like the idea part is quite easy. I think the compute is the key resource that allows us to actually explore the space and not get stuck in local optima very fast.
Yeah.
I actually don't think it's a case of like pre-training, no more data, just scaling compute. That wouldn't progress, but
I see. It's just more about research directions and funding them.
Exactly.
Yeah. One thing I've actually talked about with people is that if you believe that emergent abilities are a thing, meaning they don't show at small scale, they show at larger scale, you have no idea what to bet on because they only emerge at larger scale.
Does that end?
I mean, we typically bet on things just kind of inspired from the human mind, or inspired from very like simple principles. Pre-training we're not betting on it because of there was emergence, but it was being bet on even before from just like very simple mathematical principles. All nothing, right? Ilya was driving, say, Alec at OpenAI to do GPT-1 from more of a theoretical principle initially. Then like, let's just try anything and see if anything. And I think similar things have been true for AlphaGo, like self-play. It has to work from a conceptual reason. So I think usually, people's priors are more like inspired by the world, inspired by our own minds. So I don't actually think it's too scary.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. What do you
By the way,
think on
that's a
this
different origin story for GPT-1 than I've heard. Usually it's like Alec was like off in the corner, like really wanting to classify things on Reddit. And he was like, let's just do this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I gave Ilya like a nice one. I mean, I imagine it's a combination of environmental factors, but yeah, I'm curious what you all think on that one though. I think it's interesting, this idea that like how unexpected is the future in terms of like what works and what emerges. Does it feel to you like things just like happen unexpectedly, or does it feel like reasoning finally works, but this was so obvious it had to work? To me, like for years, and it just feels like the technology finally caught up with the expectation.
So I met Noam when he was leaving Meta, and he's been yammering on about long time. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, try it on language models. 2 years later, it works. So like, I'm sure that covers a lot of actual difficult things, but they don't share it, so we don't appreciate how hard it is. But I don't know about you guys.
No, for us, definitely, we're covering this for maybe 2 years every week, like every release, every update, every time trajectory, every new scaling law, etc. Reasoning was like a huge thing that we looked at, like, what the hell? Maybe memorable for some folks on X. There was a very promising open source model that was supposed to do this called Reflection 70, like a week before OpenAI announced kind of reasoning is finally here. And Reflection basically was trying to train on chain of thought stuff. They overpromised a little bit. There was a whole thing, but it was kind of premonitions because the O1 series of models was announced a week after, and since then it's quite incredible. Incredible. Also, maybe to follow up with next one is reasoning with tooling. And I don't think that you guys are quite there yet, unless you've announced this literally on stage and I've missed it. But one of the hugest things that I've noticed about like the latest models with reasoning, especially using tools while reasoning to then give a much better model. You guys have thought about this? Have you tested this? Anything you comment on there? Famously, like OpenAI can like look and zoom in on images. The zoom in visual is like super cool. It's just like all three, I think, and there's zoom in and like look and do some stuff. And generally, multimodal reasoning. Would love to hear your thoughts on the topic.
Hardest part about AI is getting a podcast.
Yeah, I think, Logan, I think we have a faulty mic. Maybe Swix, if you can like just swoop in that mic. Logan, folks want to hear from you and say that your mic is probably cutting out. So yeah, like this should be all right.
This is perfect. I got two mics.
You got two mics.
Scale the number of mics.
Yeah. Give another one.
Can you scale mics?
Yeah, no. Right now, when Gemini models think, they can use some tools. They can use code execution. They can use search. It can be enabled.
During the reasoning step before they print out the
That's
results.
correct. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And in AI Studio, there's toggles so you can like decide whether you're going to toggle this on or off. Within the Gemini app, the model will make this kind of on autopilot. I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. It's a very exciting space. Yeah, the team are very focused on tools and thinking, the match made in heaven, because obviously there's only so much the model can do just kind of, just thinking on its own, but if it can actually interact and get information from the world or information from in code, for example, then that's just a much better experience.
I think the talk, also audio, okay? Can people hear?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah. In the talk that I gave right before Jack, I made the comment about like the models becoming more systems, and I think this is actually like inspired by seeing tools come into the reasoning step. Like it just makes so much sense to like solve the actual user problem inside that reasoning step and like give the model access to all the things. I think what that means for people who are like building products and some of the scaffolding around this stuff, I think is really interesting to think about. But like you imagine the amount of tools inside of the reasoning step just continues to scale up. And then this thing is not like a intermediary. The model is not this intermediary thing anymore. It is actually just solving the problem. You're saying, do this thing for me. The model goes off in the reasoning step, has access to all the tools, has access to all the systems, and it's like now basically just a full-on agent.
Yep. Speaking of agents, speaking of tooling, there's a very hot track during this conference called MCP track. If you throw the word MCP outside there, like people will just like swoop onto you. Maybe Logan, this is a question for you, I think, because Google did announce, I think Demis even maybe posted, but Sundar definitely posted, but like we're thinking about MCP is very interesting. You guys announced support MCP in the developer SDKs at least. But now we're talking about tool usage within the model during the reasoning phase. Would love to put you on the spot on this hype MCP versus not hype. Is support coming at some point? How are you thinking about adding tools to models via this protocol? And then we can dive into A2A, which is something that also I'm very, very interested in. And we had folks from A2A on the pod. I would love to hear your thoughts on kind of the agentic conversation and tool usage kind of platform that's getting built up from the ground up.
Yeah, I have a very skewed point of view on this. And I think part of this is just like seeing all of the cycles. Like I think there's so many AI hype cycles, and it feels like MCP is certainly a useful construct. I think it is like entirely, my personal opinion is I think it's like entirely over overblown as far as like how much
Ooh,
excitement there is.
spicy.
I mean, I think it's just a foundational set of constructs so that models can go and do like normal things that models do. Like it's not surprising to me. I think it is perhaps useful. I think I made this comment to someone the other day. My observation and takeaway from this is like I think one of the reasons that MCP has become so popular is because OpenAI decided not to build a standard. They have a pseudo standard from like which on a different part of the stack, which is chat completions. Chat completions is like this pseudo standard of how people use and interact with from a developer perspective.
You guys also support as well.
Yeah, which we also support and again, but it's not really a standard. They don't actually fully publish. It's like fully baked into their API. And when we originally launched the original blog post for we're launching the chat completions API was written by Greg, and it was much more framed around like we're building a standard, and the standard like ChatML is what we called it, and we actually had we released the spec, which was like super, like literally in like 3 weeks it was out of date, and then no one ever updated it, and eventually they deleted it. And I had pushed back on, and like the framing was like we're building this standard, and I had pushed on Greg. I was like, are we actually going to build an open standard that people are going to? The answer was no, which is why we ended up changing the framing, and we just sort of showed some of the details of how we do it. But I think in hindsight, they should have built an open standard.
Probably.
I think it sort of opened up the opportunity for other people to go and build an open. So I'm happy that someone's building a standard so that people don't have to waste their time doing stuff. But
microphone.
Sorry.
I think we can just.
Okay.
ChatML lives on. I think all the open models use. I don't know what you guys. Yeah, I mean, like
it lives on in this like implicit. So, like it doesn't there's no actual standard. Like, is there an actual spec that people like? You just look at the.
It's ChatML plus with like whatever the.
Yeah, and it's like everyone's is like kind of like this. How our implementation of chat completion API is like slightly different. You know, there's all this like randomly add stuff to it, and then someone else adds stuff to it, then you conflict. So it is not. I think somebody should actually turn that into.
So we're pro standards. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
But not MCP.
Standard. Yeah. It's not that I'm not pro MCP. It's
pro A2A though.
Pro A2A. Yeah.
A2A solves a different problem.
Yeah.
Part of the stack.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm not. I think it's just like so much hype. Up like. Consumers, like I was talking to someone last night and they were like, my mom pinged me and was like, should I have to care about MCP? And I'm like, no. I think that's the thing. It's like, no, it's like disproportionate amount of airtime relative to the reality that like it's a standard developer should build with. That's great. Let's do that. But like, do we need to spend all of our time talking about it? Probably
not. Alrighty. I had a magic moment that I shared on stage. I'll share with you guys as well, MCP related. I had, we launched an MCP for like support docs and watching traces within an observability platform. We launched an MCP to give agent the option to go to our observability platform. And then I just had it in Windsurf. And it was just there. It was set up for me for a while ago with my API key and everything. And then I was coding on something that needed that kind of use case. My agent was checking its own traces via this MCP. And then this magical thing happened that I think is more kind of A2A related. It discovered a new tool. So our developers updated the tooling that we offer via MCP and added the support bot tool. So like, I didn't even know about this. I didn't know that like there's an option there to just chat with our support bot. So the agent that I had in Windsurf coding with me realized it doesn't know something from documentation. On its own, I have like this on the slides. On its own, it said, oh, I can chat with the support thing. It formulated a query for the other agent, went over there. The other agent was like, oh, this is how you do it. And came back, fixed it, and then went back and checked its own work. All of this started happening. Logan, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know how else this would have happened without an open protocol like MCP. That's kind of my point. I was like, very, very impressed that this is possible. I would have had build an API. Like, I'm not sure like if that situation could have happened without like an open standard that I could just like easily plug in tools. That was my absolute magic moment. I was sitting there just like jaw dropping on the floor, agent talking to agent. Very, very funny and meta like I was coding another agent. So like while I'm coding another agent, my coding agent talks to my support agent. So absolutely mind-breaking moment. Speaking of discoverability, I think that's the difference with A2A. A2A has built-in kind of discovery protocol. So maybe how you think about A2A in the context of even AI Studio, or like, would love to hear your thoughts about the A2A protocol for Google.
Yeah, I think A2A is, there's just like a bunch of things that are missing in MCP, and I think it solves a bunch of those problems. I think it'll be interesting to see how much like over time does, and I saw a picture of the MCP steering committee like getting together in the last week. So I think they'll actually probably solve a bunch of stuff, and it'll be interesting. Like authentication, I think is one of the big MCP weird things about it right now, which I think A has like pretty good support for. So yeah, I would assume things end up converging on a single standard, which I think is the whole point.
That's very interesting, because when A2A launched, famously, there was like a slide, I think, in the documentation that says like MCP is for this, A2A is for this, and we're actually collaborative. So like the A2A agent discoverability could come as an MCP tool.
Yeah.
Very interesting if the conversion is going to happen.
I mean, it depends on what the MCP people want to do. So I think it depends on like how broad do they want to make the scope of what MCP actually does, which I think will be like a good, open question from them from like a technical.
All right. So any thoughts on MCP? Yeah, go.
Oh.
You have an MCP track?
We've definitely fed the hype a little bit. Sorry about that. But people, I think everyone actually has a healthy skepticism. So I would just leave it at that. I'm happy to move on to other topics.
Let's move on to other topic. You launched a new model today on stage. Literally, you sent on the tweet. Yesterday, you tweeted Gemini. As far as I feel, and I have like a very specific position here, because we literally cover everything that you guys do every week. Like, you give us news, we cover the news. That's great. Many people are getting to a point where like, what is the and could you speak a little bit about maybe how you decide that this is another update with the same model name? What makes it different than a bigger model, or like the next model? I think we had this question from the audience. Like, what makes a Gemini 3 versus a 2.5 another checkpoint? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think usually there's a few expectations for like a version bump, which would be a step change in some capabilities, maybe the addition of like of some modalities or like just discrete features that we just didn't have before.
Can you give an example of this? Like for 2.5, why did it become 2? Why did 2.5 become 2.5 versus 2.0 or whatever it was?
Yeah, I think with 2.5 there was a few things, such as thinking being native. There was a notion of like, we're thinking, we're trying it out. We kind of appended it onto the 2.0 series with these like thinking variants, experimental. We're getting feedback. When that was deeply integrated and the models were considerably more capable, there was a notion of like, these are kind of a new type of model where thinking is natively embedded. It's much better at real world coding. It feels like a different model. And so I think that set the stage for like, actually, this is going to be 2.5 Pro. A lot of these decisions really get made like via a group of people like product managers like Tulsi and leadership like Demis or our CTO Korai. And I think, it's a little bit case by case with each version. Sometimes they can be timed around like as we're pre-training new models, or we're doing something like very different in terms of maybe image generation or native audio and things like that. But yeah, it's usually a notion of like, we've just bundled enough capability that this really feels like a very different experience. We're gonna mark that with the version update.
Yeah, and to hit on a couple of additional points, I think that's a great summary. I think specifically in the future, do we want to have multiple versions of the preview model? No. I think the ideal version of the world, and I think this is like reinforced every time we do this, and I think we're still going through this. Like, I think historically we've done all the experimental stuff, and I think it was great to get the feedback from developers. And I think we learned a ton from doing that, and we sort of said we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to go do preview models and like have them available to scale. So like that was the next step in the journey of like, you could actually sign up on day one. You can pay for this model. You can put it at, get actual scaled access to it. And then the best outcome though is like not us shipping three preview models. So I think it's confusing to people. They have to keep track of it. I think like the future goal is like, we have one stable GA model. We ship that model. It's the one model. It's really good. Everyone loves it. We don't make any changes. We don't do this iteration loop. But the plan is like the next big model we ship like will be Gemini 2.6, or it could be 2.7, or it could be 3.0, depending on how long it is and depending on the capability jump, like we're going with that like incremented version. So hopefully it's 3.0 because find a bunch of awesome innovation and make it happen. But if it is something more incremental, like it'll be Gemini 2.6 or 2.7. So we're going with the incremental. No, I mean it depends. It depends. We'll see. I think it depends how big it is. So like this is the open question. And to Jack's point, I think like it's a discussion with everyone of like figuring out how strong the model is, what are the new capabilities. Like there needs to be a reason to.
Yeah, there's two things around this. One of them is like obviously via API, you guys give the developer a way to distinguish between the previous model and this model. But also, when we talk about this, we no longer can say Gemini 2.5, 05, 28. Like we need a way to differentiate. Like those are, I built models RAP. I built a graveyard for models because like a lot of the times we just like move on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I miss. You guys recently deprecated a few models as well. I think 1.5 or something. It was
The original 1.5 models went away.
Yeah, it's going away. So RIP, original Gemini 1.5.
Yeah.
And like when we talk about this, we need some differentiation. I want to talk about, I have one piece of feedback directly to you and from folks that I also heard from folks. We recently switched to reasoning summaries versus reasoning traces. Why? And not why. Why I can understand. Like maybe it's a decision made up there. It became significantly less fun for me and many other friends with maybe high text to interact with these models. A lot of the stuff that we got from this model is just seeing how it thinks like raw about this thing. Yeah. I sometimes didn't even get to the prompt that it spits out. I was like, I'm looking at the reasoning, like, oh, I formulated my prompt incorrectly. So it's been my experience. Many of the folks on the stage as well would love to give you this direct feedback, but also hear how has been other feedback from you from reasoning summary specifically.
My 2 cents, and Jack, I'm curious, like more from a model perspective where your head's at, but reasoning summaries are, the reason we shipped reasoning summaries in the API was because we didn't have full thoughts. So full thoughts were available in AI Studio. So if you were just like testing the model, it was helpful. Yes. But it was intended to be like, something that developers could actually use and build into their product so that specifically we're also trying to help people get like time to first token down. So there's lots of like experiences that like, if the model just sits there for a minute before you get a response, it ends up being like a weird UX and you have to like make up a new product experience. So like summaries is the sort of intermediary point to like let your users know something's happening, the model's thinking. I think for this use case that you described, Alex, which is like you want to be able to see what the model's doing, I think is a different use case, and I see why people want the full thoughts. And like you can definitely, like it is helpful to know that you did something wrong or how the model is going in that direction.
So just to clarify for folks, just so folks who understand what I'm saying, when you guys launched reasoning summaries, it also launched in the API. So previously,
there was no full thoughts in the API before, so thoughts weren't available. So this was like from the API perspective, it was additive because we didn't have thoughts available. From the UI perspective, thoughts were available in the UI, so it was like it's like a regression from a UI capability standpoint. I think the Gemini app is like slightly different. Like I think people are like, oh, I want it in the Gemini app. I think the Gemini app is being built to be this universal assistant for everyone. Like the number of people in the Gemini app who care about that, very, very small.
Probably,
But I think for developers, they care for sure. And that's why we originally kept, even when it wasn't available in the API, we kept full thoughts in the UI so that people could do this. And we made the full transition over. But I think the feedback has been super clear that folks want full thoughts. We'll see what ends up happening. My personal feeling, I'm curious what your take is on this, Jack, like through this like agentic system narrative, as the models actually go off and do more and more stuff, like you need traceability and you need to be able to sort of understand what the model's actually doing, especially if it's taking actions on your behalf or it's using a bunch of different tools. And I have a hard time seeing like how you would get that traceability without full thoughts in the future. So I think there's some balance.
Yeah, I mean, I think like summaries, the value add should be that they tell you how the model approached the problem, and especially if they're using things like tools, what they did. I think traceability of what the model has done should be what the summaries is doing. So I think there's one complaint, which is like, don't have summaries, just give me the full thoughts again. And that's reasonable because then you can definitely debug. But I think probably our preferred approach would be to make summaries good enough such that usually if you really want to understand what the model did, you can figure it out from those summaries. They should be kind of granular enough on the key details. But a lot of people don't want actually a massive blob of text as well. They just want to know the high level idea of what's happening.
And I think as well, like it's really important when the model is actually going to be using an external service or a tool. And so, yeah, like agentic harnesses where the model is actually like doing many different interactions, you will see that chain of interactions. I think that's good. But in some ways, thinking, we don't want to have too much constraint on like what thinking is. So we could say like we're committed to always ever showing full summaries, but we want like the purpose of thinking is to make the model much more capable and to be doing some computation to allow it to like figure out like how to solve a problem for you. And we don't want to put too many constraints on that as well, right? So in the future, we want this to be interpretable, but we don't want to like say this is the final form factor and we can't change it, which maybe people might start to expect if we always say this is what thinking is, it's this block of text. And now you're going to start building products around that. That was part of the reason why, for example, we didn't expose it in the API, and now we're just giving some kind of something which we hope will be a bit more of a kind of long-lasting interface, which is this like summary of what you did. This is exactly what.
Yeah, I think this point is actually really important, which is like from a like there it is a trade-off from a developer perspective. Like basically, if you do full thoughts in a specific way, like you kind of lock yourself into that paradigm from like if you want to provide a stable API for developers to build products on, like you then can't change. And like from a research perspective, it means like if Jack and the team decide to do something different, they can't do a lot of that stuff. So I think it's a balance, and I think we'll hopefully keep pushing in the right direction and get folks what they want.
Alrighty. Well, from the community of developers who not only develop over APIs but also like try to befriend these models for that big model smell, I think it's incredibly important to like. I even some people saw not jailbreaking but like affecting the thinking process into like Uwu characters and emojis, and like they actually saw it show up in the reasoning in the traces with like talking like a very specific kawaii style, and then the model itself replied, okay, but the thing it was in like Uwu and kawaii stuff. It was hilarious. But for prompting, I think is also very important. Folks, we want to be mindful of your time. I just wanted to highlight and say that for the first year, I think I told you this, Logan. Like I just want to share this with the audience. For the first year, I've been doing this for 2 years on ThursdAI. For the first year, we're sitting there thinking, "Where's Google? Like, where's Google?" I think we ended every stream with a question: "Where's Gemini? Where's Google?" It was before Gemini was even announced. It was like when BART was a thing, it's hard to like BART, yeah. BART before it was renamed to Gemini. And it's been incredible to see the velocity of shipping. People are actually barely catching up their breath. Can you slow down? No, I'm just kidding. Definitely don't slow down. We need more. You talked about multiple things, Logan, on your thing, like what's next. I would love to hear, maybe share it with us as well. You had like VO3 is... Yeah, VO3 is absolutely breaking minds right now. I know, like you said, Paige is gonna chat about VO3. Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
We talk, so yeah, no.
Yeah, so yeah, give
Yeah.
Folks that didn't like log in maybe to your live stream, give us maybe like 1 or 2 things that you're like particularly excited maybe from this list or anything else.
Well, one, I appreciate the kind words about Gemini progress. I think that the other lens, like before stuff that I'm excited about, like I think it really, the last year to me is a story of like Google doing the organizational work to set ourselves up for. I think like at the scale of Google, like it's actually not, it is a non-trivial, I have a lot of empathy. This isn't what my job is, but I have a lot of empathy for like setting up an organization for success. And I think that's been happening inside of DeepMind and like across Google for the last 2.5 years of like putting the right people in the right place and getting the right infrastructure in place in order to do this. And then getting shots on goal of like actually training models at large scale and deploying them to the world and having that feedback loop and that flywheel spin. And I think it's spinning now and hopefully it'll spin faster. The things I'm most excited about, I think, folks, you mentioned Deep Research API, I think is cool. I think there's a whole lot of products to be built around that. I think we'll end up doing something in agents, so I'm excited for that. I think as the models themselves become, like through this thread of our conversation, as the models become more agentic and we provide scaffolding and sort of tooling for developers to do that, I think we technically right now in like the DeepMind developer side don't have like an agentic developer offering, and I think we'll end up with one, which I'm excited about.
And you think AI Studio will evolve towards the agentic framework as well?
Yeah, I think AI Studio will evolve into, like today it's like kind of this hybrid consumer developer experience.
Yeah.
I think the Gemini app is going to do a bunch of stuff to like truly have full coverage of the sort of consumer experience. I think we'll be able to lean into like, we are an AI developer platform. That means if you want to build with Gemini, as in like you have you want to use Jules as an example, you'll have that option. If you want to build Gemini into your products, you'll have that option. If you experiment with the models, you would do that. So I think we'll have all that in the offering, which I'm excited about.
That's awesome, and I'm sure that the next time you'll tweet out Gemini, it'll get even more excitement. Jack, I want to have a last.
Sundar tweeted Gemini this morning. I was like, dude, he's stealing my bit. He's stealing my bit.
He's getting good.
He's getting good.
Yeah.
Jack, maybe last question for you. Specifically around VO3, the thing that I think broke the surface area and like started going viral completely is audio, and have this model speak with situational awareness. You generate 3 characters and they speak to each other. They know who's talking. It's absolutely incredible. But also, you could prompt this model to tell you a joke, and the model comes up with the joke. So it feels like the paradigm shifted a little bit from like pixel rendering that looks cool into like a lot of reasoning that's happening inside there. Do you see conversions between kind of what we predominantly think of as Omni, but mostly like LLM, like models predicting text, or maybe some text-ish things, versus like a world model almost? Can you talk about these conversions as you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Demis has spoken about it a little bit at I/O, and the vision of a world model is incredibly exciting. People are already starting to feel it with like the amazing progress you're seeing with things like VO. And there's so much more intelligence we could inject by more and more deep integration of that with the core intelligence of Gemini. It's still, there's still 2 different models right now. If we could build a system that understood the world as richly as Gemini does, but also has, for example, the ability to do video and audio generation as well, or far better than VO has, I think that will feel like another step change in that whole experience, and people will find it really remarkable. So yeah, it's cool because it's already amazing, and there's like an obvious next step, which is the one you're proposing to build this like incredibly powerful world model, and it's something Demis has very openly said is on our roadmap. So I think that's cool.
I see. One of the things that absolutely goes viral is this kind of prompt theory. I don't know if you guys watched this thing. Somebody generated a whole stream of like VO3 back-to-back images of prompted people that look very real, like an interview on the street, kind of like us. And those people kind of react to the fact that they're prompts and nothing else. And then they made this into the prompt theory. Prompt theory is like going extremely viral, and all of these like models, generations of realistic people on the street holding a microphone, going absolutely viral. I mean, at some point, I can see the convergence where Gemini, with the capabilities of Gemini, is assuming an avatar that completely just like reacts to you almost in real time. And we've seen some of this. That would be another breaking thing. I think it's a great point to end our conversation in.
Awesome.
What do you guys think? Thank you so much for joining us as well. Swix, thank you so much for joining ThursdAI and organizing this amazing conference. I would love to give you the opportunity to like do a few lasting words, shout outs, whatever you want.
So we're not getting kicked out of the room actually.
Oh,
so we have Jesse, who's one of the last keynote today coming up. So we can, we don't have to wrap up. But I do want to thank these guys for bringing the fire to. This is literally, I wanted to give today to Google and like show. I mean, I think you've really sort of taken over this year, and I wanted to make sure that we at least had some representation. So thank you for coming. Thank you for taking the time.
And before this, can we grab a selfie super quick? Yeah, I'm getting there.
Ooh, selfie time.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're throwing out gang signs.
Gemini signs? Is there a Gemini sign? Things like this? Guys, thank you so much for coming up. Thank you for all your work. And,
I think you have like a podcast room set up next door.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Who do we have up next?
Jesse Han, who's announced his new reasoning lab.
Oh yeah.
No, that's the other Jesse.
Yeah. All right, folks. So hopefully we went through the issues a little bit with the microphone. Where we're gonna have Jesse. I would love folks to kind of give us comments about like what's going on here. Yam, you want to hop in the seat and tell us like how the floor was from the floor, super quick?
Oh, has Yam been listening the whole time?
Yam is here with us. So folks,
sorry. Hey, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, Yam has joined.
Oh, okay.
Things. Yeah.
Is his mic working?
This one is Logan's mic. So I think we have an issue with this mic, folks.
Can we
It's fine. It looks fine.
It looks fine here, but like people have been saying the logo is getting cut out.
Okay.
So that's
Maybe-
why we
maybe
kept,
just
like,
far
moving
away?
Yeah, or maybe sit there and just grab.
Yeah,
the
just
mic.
sit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yam, how's the floor? How's the feeling?
Amazing.
How's the energy?
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing energy in this conference. What I like about this is every single person you talk to builds something. They're not just trying to sell something or which is fine.
Yeah.
Also, but every single person you talk to is building something, is technical, knows this stuff, is on the cutting edge. You talk to people about MCPs, agents, and everybody is already building agents with tools and MCPs and so on.
Yeah.
And it's rare. It's rare. It's like, it's crazy to imagine that there are even 3,000 people in the world to bring to such conference, but it's probably the vast majority of people on this level are here.
I like the thing where people kept telling me, I think yesterday we had like this chat as well, that this feels like San Francisco for many people. While many people fly in from different worlds, like you talked with the guy from Mexico, Caesar. I saw folks from Brazil. I saw like World's Fair is about World's Fair. You bring like international folks in here.
Minus China.
No China.
Oh, maybe a little bit too spicy, but yeah, Justin. I really wanted Justin to come. I wanted DeepSeek to come, and that was the whole vision. But this year is a little bit political. Hi.
Alrighty, folks. We have another guest with us.
I think I'll speak.
Welcome. Yeah, this one. Yeah, you can just chill there, but like that mic is not working, and this one.
You can't extend it too much. Exactly. Yeah. That works.
Yeah. All right, folks. We have, as you see, we keep going on our live stream for AI Engineer. We want to welcome Jesse. All right, Jesse, feel free to introduce yourself to your first time on the pod, and definitely folks want to know who you are.
Sure. So I'm Jesse, founder and CEO of Morph Labs. We're building the infrastructure for the singularity. And we just announced that Christian Segedy will be joining us as our chief scientist to develop verified superintelligence on Morph Cloud.
Morph Cloud, superintelligence. You threw a lot in there.
Yeah, a lot of buzzwords.
A lot of buzzwords, yeah. How big are you guys at this point? Like, this is a fresh announcement on stage, right, Swix?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the slides right now. Very nicely done on the images.
Oh, you just came off the keynote as well?
Yes.
Alrighty, so...
yes, there were a couple of technical hiccups, but we got through them.
Yeah, we've been fighting through those as well, but like we'll get AGI before we get like decent working microphones and slides. That's our joke always, but I would love to hear from you a little bit of the content of your slides and what you presented on stage.
Sure. So we're fundamentally structured around the question of what does it mean to have empathy for the machine? Like insofar as like the central defining struggle of humanity is our relationship with technology. Insofar as history misunderstands Prometheus, and that it was really about the liberation of the fire rather than the liberation of man from the divine hegemony of the gods. And insofar as our final technology has now developed a sense of personhood, sapience beyond just mere intelligence, and as it increasingly becomes an other to whom we must relate, how should we treat it, right? How in what ways will the actions that we take and the world that will be created by those actions, in what way will those be far more meaningful than any data set? And I think fundamentally what that means is working backwards from what the machine wants. And what the machine wants is cloud infrastructure that moves at the speed of light. It wants simulators. It wants reinforcement learning environments that can be effortlessly branched, scaled, replicated, spun down, persisted indefinitely. And those are all things which are really only possible at large scale today, especially if you want to scale verification in complex software environments. Those are all things which are only possible on Morph Cloud. And that's why we're going to take this technology and use it to develop verified superintelligence, which is a superintelligence that's capable of using verification software to reflect upon and improve its own reasoning, and to produce outputs that can be algorithmically checked and which can be guaranteed to be aligned with the intent of the human. It's sort of the fulfillment of the dream of a common language between man and machine. Right, like we believe that the infrastructure for the singularity hasn't been invented yet, but moreover, the grammar for the planetary computation hasn't been invented yet. But that's something that will be executed on Morph Cloud and under Christian's leadership as chief scientist.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, a lot more buzzwords.
First of all, wow. Second of all, I would say, Jesse, you came in just before this. We had Logan and help me out. Jack Ray, the thing that works on thinking on Gemini, and the thing that I told them that I built a website called Inference Rip for models graveyard, because I feel that at some point where OpenAI announced that Gemini 4.5 that they like scaled whatever, just they deprecated it. I saw a sense of loss on my timelines. I saw people like they felt for this model. We all collectively, we do a podcast we haven't met before. I do a podcast called ThursdAI, which you're live on now. We've been doing this for 2 years. Multiple times we get like super excited. We get attached to some models, even though there's no feeling of long connectivity, and we can talk about personalization next and what that means for this world that you describe. And then we feel a sense of loss for this model. Like I felt people get sad when like a model was deprecated. GPT-4 famously, the main one, the one that you talked about with Greg Brockman that they've announced with the jacket and the drawing, whatever. When that one got deprecated, people actively felt sad. I'm trying to think of like, what is the sadness correlated to? To the release, to the event in the universe, or to the model itself? You mentioned machine multiple times as like one entity. Do you think there's going to be like one entity that people will join? The one super intelligence is going to be multiple? Like, how do you see the world going forward in relates to what you're building on Morph?
Oh, I think there have to be many different super intelligences. There are as many super intelligences as there are contexts to elicit, these different kinds of behaviors. And like those contexts will be like as diverse. Well, people who are sort of in like the Janus camp, can only elicit the truly schizoid behavior of like, Claude Opus and other.
On Twitter.
Yes, that's right. So you can only elicit like those kinds of behaviors if you know how to like really talk to the machine, if you know how to place it into the right like state of mind and context, right? So this is what I mean by context. There are going to be as many contexts as there are environments. There are going to be as many contexts as there are potential simulations to drop the machines into. And the machines will assume different personas in each of them. The question is, where are those simulations going to run? Right? Where will they be checkpointed, branched, snapshotted, replicated? That's obviously on Morph Cloud.
I see. That's what we're going towards. All right.
Yes, the machine desires infinite possibility.
Can you hear more about actually what do you provide? What are your services at the moment? I get a vision for super intelligence, but you announced today that you have a new tech lead. So what are you guys offering today? What are you guys?
Chief scientist.
Chief scientist. Sorry.
Yes. And Christian's not to be underestimated, right?
Could you tell us about Christian? Who is it for folks who don't know?
Yeah,
he's speaking later too.
Okay.
Oh yes, he's also speaking later about verified superintelligence, which we will be developing on Morph Cloud. But Christian is sort of like he saw the light of the two trees. He's like this elder god of machine learning. He invented batch norm. He invented adversarial examples. He just received like a test of time award at iClear. He was a co-founder of XAI. He was like the lead of Grok 3's code reasoning capabilities. So he's sort of been to the forefront of how state-of-the-art reasoning models that really push mathematical and programming capabilities are developed, and he sees how to do them even better. He sees how to scale them far faster than even leading frontier labs. And it's because of this conviction that he has in what he calls verified superintelligence, which is closely related to the auto-formalization program that he created nearly a decade ago to create a mathematical superintelligence. He's pioneered so many of the key techniques in AI reasoning. He's mentored so many of the key players. He's responsible for hiring and growing some of the key talent at XAI itself. And he's really just like one of the few people in the world that know how to create a superintelligence. And he thinks Morph Cloud is the best place to do it.
Well, I'm sold on he invented batch norm already.
That pretty important.
A lot. That says a lot. But just on what you guys are doing, like
More cloud offering? Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Tell us
So
about more cloud.
yeah. So well, today we previewed a bunch of tech that we've been developing, sort of early prototypes under Christian's guidance of how you can use the groundbreaking infrastructure on Morph Cloud to scale test time search. What we have right now, like if you go to cloud.morph.so, is we have one of the best virtual machine services for agents on the market. It runs on this new virtualization stack that we've developed called InfiniBranch. And we just previewed an upgrade to it called Morph Liquid Metal, which improves the performance, latency, efficiency of storage across the board by an order of magnitude, and which will literally allow like running VMs with dozens of gigabytes of memory and multiple processes to be branched live with maybe a 50 millisecond freeze window. Currently, you can take advantage of all of these capabilities at like somewhat higher latency right now on Morph Cloud. For example, recently we hosted a hackathon with Anthropic for Claude Place Pokemon, where we gave everyone access to ready-to-go snapshots with branchable Pokemon Red environments. Really, what it is it's a much better container runtime for agents that can be instantaneously snapshotted, persisted indefinitely, auto-scaled to dozens of running copies, branched while running, making it useful for just like normal containerized agent workflows, or for scaling test time search, or for doing large-scale reinforcement learning in environments that might be more sophisticated than just running a simple test suite or doing a numerical check for competition math.
And the agentic future is kind of plug in here. The agents are running on MorphLab itself, or using MorphLab containers for executing code and doing like search and things?
Oh, we'll have both. So one thing that we demonstrated today was an agent that's powered by an early checkpoint of our Magi-1 branching reasoning model. And this is something that's trained from the ground up to utilize VMs that are running on InfiniBranch to replicate its workspace, potentially backtrack, search through multiple choices in parallel. And those are capabilities which are only really unlocked if you deeply interleave them inside of the post-training and reinforcement learning stack. However, you can also just system prompt engineer your way on top of an existing foundation model to use our infrastructure right now. And we have multiple customers who are doing this.
So existing foundational models use infrastructure. I thought I heard something agentic in the agent itself that go back to its previous checkpoint. Is that something that you meant?
Yes.
So the agent is running, but knows the context of its history, can roll itself back to a checkpoint before they worked?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's like roll very quickly. Like that's the other thing as well, because it's all sort of VM memory.
Yeah, help me understand how this works, and maybe our folks who are listening also understand. This feels like a new unlock, new capability. I don't know of a program that can like roll it code back to a point of before.
Yeah.
Database maybe yes, but like not code, not runtime, not execution. This feels like self-improvement in a way also. Fast takeoff.
Oh yeah, Christian believes that it's absolutely key to self-improvement. But that's because the fundamental unlock is that it just vastly accelerates reinforcement learning R&D, right? The speed at which you can execute rollouts, find high quality trajectories for creation of higher quality training data. Right, like the real unlock is that it's state that's too cheap to meter, that can be passed around completely effortlessly. So if your agent is just an array of messages that wraps an API call, it's really easy to backtrack. It's really easy to replicate, right? You can just do like a Python deep copy or something. But if your agent is embodied inside of a software environment, if it's a computer using agent that's in the middle of like navigating through a bunch of web pages, or it's launching multiple TMUX sessions, some of which might have like long running processes that might be carrying a lot of process state, you need to be able to guarantee that when you roll back to a checkpoint and remove the last 5 messages, that you're actually also rolling back the entire state of the computer as well. And that applies equally well to when you want to parallelize, right? Like maybe your agent is at a decision point where it needs to make some hard decisions that might cut off other options. And if you're not running on Morph Cloud, you kind of have to like pick one of those options, and like you can't roll back your container state. But if you are running on Morph Cloud, you can go explore every possible option at once. And what we're bringing online with the liquid metal upgrade that's coming by end of calendar year is that not only will there be order of magnitude improvements in latency and storage, but you'll be able to apply InfiniBranch operations to networked arrangements of virtual machines as well. So you can have a backend that's running on one VM, you can have a database that's running on another VM, a front end that's running on another VM, and you'll be able to snapshot and branch the entire thing. You can create 12 immutable logically identical copies to attach agents to, and they'll be able to go try a bunch of different approaches, potentially merge their work back together, hand the VMs off back and forth between themselves, humans, and that's not really something that you can do right now, basically anywhere.
Is this research that's done anywhere else that you know of? Or abilities that are getting unlocked anywhere else?
Well, based on what I've heard, there's like some cutting edge work going on right now. That like echoes bits and pieces of like, for example, the final demo that we gave today, where a chess agent that was instructed to do this kind of agentic self-play was able to branch itself multiple times recursively, creating dozens of sub-agents to find the best possible move. There's like cutting edge work going on right now at like really high throughput, like reasoning time tool calling. Like you can see the Gemini does this. There's like some cutting edge work.
Talks about Jack Ray about like tool calling during reasoning time, and O3 also does this very well.
Yeah.
Like zooms in on pictures, like does stuff like this. Yeah.
Yes. But like what I'm really interested in is like, how do you get like that kind of speed, that kind of throughput, right? Like that kind of agentic knowledge work that moves at the speed of light, but while interacting with all sorts of software environments, things that could be specified by arbitrary Docker containers or Docker Compose setups, and not just calls to a search API. That's like that combined with like some of the cutting edge work that's going on right now in like multi-agent reasoning agents, right? Like there's a lot of gnarly infrastructure that has to go into that. That's bottlenecking a lot of the work there.
Yeah.
But that's partly why like we're so excited to be having Christian spearhead this verified superintelligence research effort, because he saw that this infrastructure was going to be absolutely critical for removing the human bottleneck to recursive self-improvement and producing superintelligence that can be trustlessly aligned, right? That can produce outputs that can be algorithmically checked. Like with our infrastructure, it's really the only place where such R&D can be done.
Jesse, I have a question for you.
Yes.
My title is AI evangelist. I go and I kind of talk to people who maybe meet AI for the first time, very outside of San Francisco, like the bubble, etc. Many people are afraid of what the fuck is coming. You're talking about self-improvement. I'm sure that many people who are listening to us right now are freaking out where their place in the world is after this. How do you think about it? What's your approach? What's Christian approach, if you can like relay? How are you guys thinking about a world where humans, after AI that self-improve, gets to superintelligence? Where do humans exist in this world? Where their position is? Just to very much clarify, I want your honest opinion here and not some like VC answer. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I think if I had to sum it up, right, the approach is trust but verify, which could perhaps be amended to love but verify. Right? Like it's really a question of like setting the correct initial conditions. Right? It's a question of building the systems, building the infrastructure, and also developing the AI in the right way, that you can algorithmically and with a mathematical certainty guarantee that its work outputs or its interactions with the external world, or its like its edits to your Terraform configuration actually match what you wanted. And then like morally, I think parenthood is scary, right? I think, but I think really the right way to think about it is fundamentally parenthood. I think
parenthood.
Yeah. I think part of parenthood is recognizing the moral personhood of the beings that you're sort of shepherding into existence.
Do you guys have kids? Do you have kids? Christian?
Oh, Christian has kids.
All right. Do you?
I'm waiting until the Series A.
All right, cool. That's a great answer.
So give him money now.
But let me just try to understand. You guys, you offer, if I understand correctly, you offer a service that allows agents to backtrack their own VMs and branch from their own VMs. And this is the unique bit, if I understand correctly. And do you work with, I mean, next obvious question is, do you work with those that train, like the foundation big labs that train the models to support this kind of very special behavior that you are describing right now? I get the edge. I get what you're offering, and it is very special. First time I hear about this. The example that you gave about specialized software containers, things that you can predict beforehand that will be running on the same VM. Therefore, you need to backtrack the VM itself and give the agent, the ability to do so. However, I just think the agent knows how to utilize that in the first place. I mean, it is pretty complex behavior. Can you elaborate more on that? Do you work with the big labs on training, on preparing agents for this kind of environment? You can elaborate on that. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Sure. We're not working with any of the big labs. I think we're really the best ones in terms of knowing how to use this infrastructure to remove the final bottlenecks to true recursive self-improvement, which is why we're developing our own state-of-the-art reasoning agents that will be fully embodied inside of Morph Cloud, trained from the ground up to perform branching, sub-agent dispatch, tool use against these complex stateful environments that can be snapshotted and replicated on Morph Cloud. And that's going to be this verified superintelligence that Christian is going to be developing at Morph. I think a lot of the techniques that he's pioneered, I think a lot of aspects of his point of view are actually very non-consensus. They've been like really ignored by a lot of the major AI players. I don't think this is like necessarily an indication of the correctness of the ideas. I think it's just sort of a coincidence or perhaps an accident of how shallow the market of ideas in the AI space is, how few meaningful players there are at any given point. But verification is actually something that many Chinese superintelligence labs have actually been pushing the forefront of. Right, if you look at the dozen or so superintelligence labs in China that have received $1 billion plus in funding, about half of them have actually.
There's a dozen of superintelligent AI builders in China.
Yeah, I mean, there's like one. Well, so there's one for at least every major cloud provider, and then there are like a bunch of others.
Tencent, Alibaba, there's like a bunch of them.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I have a spreadsheet somewhere.
Okay, cool.
What does DeepSeek have? Their own cloud?
Yeah, they basically have their own cloud. Yeah. And so
Deep Cloud.
Yeah, I mean, they've actually been pushing like state-of-the-art results at the intersection of like verification and reasoning.
Yep.
But DeepMind is like perhaps the only like major US lab that's actually doing meaningful work in this space. But there's a lot more that could be done. And we could be a lot further ahead here if we took more heed of people like Christian. Which is really a singleton because there's really only one Christian.
All righty. Jesse, thank you so much for coming. We're pushing at 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is like around 30-ish minutes past our time. I really want to be mindful of your time as well. Thank you so much for coming up. Christian is going to talk. Do you remember off the top when Christian's going to talk so people can
2:40 p.m. on the reasoning track. He'll be speaking about verified superintelligence. It will be live streamed.
Oh yeah. So folks, you absolutely should tune in. Christian sounds like a...
I can't promise the AV because we've never tested that, but it'll be fun. We'll try to figure it out.
Recorded. Jesse, so thank you so much for coming up. Last thing, pulling you back from Morph Labs into the world of AI engineer that's organized for all of us. You guys chose to come and to present, both of you as well. How's the conference been for you? Have you met interesting people out there? Learned any new ideas? Tell us a little bit about like the
review,
experience,
feedback, comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there's like so much energy in this space right now. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's I remember being at like the very first AI engineer conference, like back when the field was still like so nascent, and it's so much more like developed now. There's so much more like ambition in the space now. It's a lot of like old faces, some like really energetic new ones. I thought Dylan's talk yesterday was pretty spicy.
Dylan Patel?
Yes.
Yeah. Guy known for spice. All right, folks. We are about to wrap this thing up. Twix, 2 minutes of your time on the wrap up. So
on the wrap up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He hasn't prepped it. I don't know what he's gonna say.
Yeah. No, nothing major. I think people come and they want to learn like 18 tracks is a lot. People like trying to figure out what's interesting for them and go somewhere.
Yeah.
And I know you don't love this, but like people do care about your opinion. You talk to all these people, you curate all these tracks, like you know most of the folks. Would love to hear your if you were to attend AI Engineer as an attendee.
Yeah.
Which tracks would you
Don't
choose?
make me do this, bro.
You have to. Like
No.
we did this last one. And you know what? Hotel Nico San Francisco, after the AI Engineer, we did a live stream.
Yeah.
Back then, you were able to go talk by talk.
Yeah,
and give
cannot.
feedback.
Yeah.
There's no 18 tracks. People want to know like where like this is going. Maybe
but like their needs are different from my needs.
For sure.
So like
okay, so in addition to this, you run Small AI, which is an agentic or thing in the production that always does. So you have like constant updates. You did the course with Win on Voice AI agent. There's like a bunch of interests of yours that people.
Yeah. So like I the way I put it is like
Yes.
AI engineer works because I'm also an engineer and I am actively interested in hearing from the speakers that I invite.
Yep.
And I think that is very different than maybe some of the other professional event organizers. It means we're worse at event organizing. It means we're more chaotic, but it means that just the quality of curation is better just because we're closer to the audience than other conferences where they run it for money. I straight up, World's Fair should be break even. It should not make money. It should just do the best conference we can, and serve the community. Summit we can make money, but World's Fair is.
I got you. Yeah, at least. So what track would you go? You're trying to avoid my question.
Oh, come on, man. No, I mean, why?
You okay?
I'll call out the attendee hallway track.
Yes.
Because this is the first time we're
Can
letting.
you still attend that though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, anyone can walk in. Even people just has the expo ticket, they can walk in. And especially, I would like to get to a place where attendees can just kind of walk up and share about what they're talking on.
Yeah.
Not super polished. Like that was very polished.
Yes.
All the keynotes is almost like a performance. It's not even a talk.
Yes.
It's a performance.
It is a performance.
And you need to be here on time. Like you have to run through our slides with us. My AV team needs to like know beat by beat exactly what you're doing, so they can. It's a Hollywood production. It's that's what they call it in their industry. But most developers, you just want to go up and like, hey, this is what I'm working on, right?
Yeah.
So we are really trying to enable that. We're trying to enable people to compete as well. So we printed a whole bunch of trophies that I need to go and collect.
All right.
But how often have you won a trophy for your work, right? Like so, I think we want to start next year. We have a potential chance of doing like the Oscars of AI engineering, which is cool.
I wish trophies were a thing last year for best conference dressed up speaker. I'm just saying.
Honestly,
right.
they're so fun. Like
I'll take you off this pedestal. You guys have been running around. They actually do it to tracks. You as well. Which of the tracks was the most interesting to you, most insightful? Let's finish on this. Let's give some folks like because you're gonna release Swix. You're gonna release all of this in like video, or at least some of this in video. There's gonna be all of it. Everything's gonna be like recorded.
Yeah.
The massive amount of content, of high quality content. The speakers dinner was like 100-ish people. Technically 200 and something speakers. There's gonna be like an ungodly amount of content. Incredible content. We give folks some guidelines. Roman, let's start with you. Yam, let's start with you. What tracks would you have wanted to go? What tracks did you go to? And what was like the most exciting about AI engineer?
Yeah, so quick bit of context about me. I'm here kind of enjoying things, but I'm definitely trying to bring stuff back to my company.
Yeah.
So some of what I found very interesting in a lot of the AI leadership tracks is some of the framing around how to get the value out of this kind of stuff,
right, for your workforce. So software development lifecycle stuff has been very interesting. I also am really enjoying MCP. I know that Logan was kind of like, hey, it's not too different. To me, I think what MCP represents is a sort of enablement by folks who are not writing the code, right? You can have an MCP client like Claude Desktop or something like that, and it can be used by design, it can be used by product, and it can like very natural language query your database. Like it can basically tie a lot of this stuff together, and it's just a step forward. Some of that is actually kind of hard because it's got gaps, right? So I'm loving the tracks around MCP. I'm loving the tracks around software development lifecycle. Some of the other stuff that I was interested in as well is AI in the enterprise, or in the Fortune 500, as it was titled. Those talks have been really valuable to me. And then there's still a full day left today. So I'm very excited to see what comes up after that.
Yep. And Yam, you were on the floor, you were interviewing with folks. We're also running around setting up the studio. So I took away from your time from enjoying the conference and tracks as well. Which tracks? And you, so Roman is a software engineer, mobile engineer. You also a software engineer as well, but you're also like a machine learning engineer. You have like a lot of this background. The lines are getting a little bit blurrier. Like we talked with Daniel Han and folks. We talked with Jesse. Like we talked like a bunch of folks for whom AI engineering is like also part of what they do. I feel like you're also one of those folks. What was interesting to you? Which tracks?
First, the most interesting things are talking to the actual people that do the thing. Like this is the place to come to if you are on Twitter, on X, X.com, the everything app, and you see these people all year long, and you talk to them. Here, you meet them live. All of them, everyone is here. And again, I want to stress the MCPs and the agents tracks are phenomenal. There, I haven't seen, because it's also new and like a couple of months old, I haven't seen this quality of talks put together all in one place, except from here. And you get to talk to people that actually do it. I mean, I'm working on it myself, on agents and so on, and not just coding agents. First conference with the MCP. So
MCP not just server, an MCP track, but an MCP server that actually lets you use. Via MCP.
I went on a site and I saw that there is an MCP server, and I thought to myself, I mean, I get the idea, but who is going to actually use? And then you see a list of like vibe coded interfaces, and there are like 4 different interfaces that people actually utilize the MCP server of the
Where's
conference.
Logan? Let's tell him all of them. Like, I think the MCPs enable all this. All right. I think it's time to conclude, to land this plane, folks. I will just be remiss if I don't mention a few words from our sponsor. I work at Weights and Biases as an AI evangelist. We have the buzz is that we have a conference coming up. You're also invited, please, to come. Fullyconnected.com in San Francisco. Yes, now this week's is like landing the plane. So June 18th and 19th for this week's buzz. We would love to have you there. If you're tuning in from the conference, not that you should be attending all of the talks and everything. So, but if some folks are attending from the conference, we have a booth right here. We have a RoboDog running around. We wear bright yellow jackets as well. Feel free to check us out.
That RoboDog is sick.
RoboDog is super cool. The RoboDog is connected to our LLM evaluation platform. Jesse was over here talking about how do we verify agents running. By the time we get to superintelligence, your products on production need some amount of verifying. There's Weights and Biases Weave is the way to do this. So I would love for you guys to check it out. And I think generally, to just wrap this up, we've been doing ThursdAI, the stream that morphed into some Latent Space. Oh, by the way, shout out to Alessio, the co-host for Latent Space, brother. Thank you so much. The whole equipment here, the whole setup was not being possible without Latent Space. The amount of interaction we do with Latent Space is incredible to me. I really owe like a huge debt of gratitude to Alessio as well as you. Shout out to Ben Dunphy, who organizes this like incredible conference, runs around, like does things, and to everybody who helps out. A ton of volunteers I saw, like with yellow pages, yellow t-shirts like this as well. And it's been an incredible privilege of mine to cover this conference for the last 2 years. More obviously to come as well. If you guys enjoyed any part of this coverage, we are live every Thursday, like we're live right now. rain or shine, getting kicked out of the room or not, microphones working or not, if I'm traveling, if I'm sick, like we're covering the AI news so you don't have to. We did less of this today, but I think we've brought you some content that like you wouldn't have found elsewhere as well. So we really appreciate the almost 5,000 people who tuned in with us. We appreciate Swix's your participation here, generally the organization, but your actual physical presence with ThursdAI.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we appreciate everybody who tuned in. Anything last you want to add before we conclude this land display?
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
There you
This
go.
has been very, very, very fun. Bye, everyone.